The muzzle is off. Let go of the shame, remove all the pain, block it out like a troll on your timeline. The past is what made you who you are today. Embrace it, let it go like an exhale. Remove it, remove it, remove it. The muzzle is off.
What's up, everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the Muzzle Off podcast, where I am your host, Renee, and we have some special guests with me today. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves to the people?
Ladies first.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Sam, and I want to thank Miss Nikita for having me on here. And I'm streaming from Mississippi.
Mississippi, okay.
All right, I'm CK. I run Parkland Media YouTube channel. Thank you for Nikia for having me on the podcast, and I am from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Y'all see, we got people in Mississippi. We got people in Las Vegas. We doing some things up here. Okay,
doing big.
Listen, at least trying to do something over here. So listen. You got to connect with people. I think that's part of the issue with some people today. They don't know how to make connections. All they know how to do is, I don't know what they be doing, but they don't know how to connect with folk. And you got to learn how to connect with people.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So thank y'all for actually joining. Thank you, Commendable, because the reason why this podcast is even going on today is because he reached out to me after viewing the podcast a couple times via YouTube. And he was like, listen, I would love to come on your podcast and let's do this. And I was like, all right, anybody that know me, know I'm good with it. So listen, so that's why we are here today. We got a little different of a topic to discuss with you good people. And we are going to be discussing dating, okay? But the form of dating that we're actually talking about is dating as far as men and women who are either choosing or choosing not to date single parents.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason, let me say this, and part of the reason why we're actually talking about this is because now, I don't have children. Anybody who knows me knows I don't have any children. But I have definitely been approached by people who literally will ask me the question and say, do you have any children? I'll be like, no, I don't have no kids. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, good. Because if you had a child, I wouldn't date you. And I'm like, if I did have a child, that would be offensive. That's first of all.
Right.
Second of all, what is so wrong with dating a woman? You know what I'm saying? What is so wrong with dating a woman with a child? Like, what is so taboo about it? And I literally had this one man when I told him that, no, I don't have any children. And he literally was ecstatic. Like the excitement in his voice just changed over. And I, for the life of me, could not understand what the hell was so exciting about that. Number one reason why I didn't understand what was so exciting about it is because the reason why I don't have a child is because I miscarried. So that was my whole thing is when people don't know you and they don't know your story, and then you want to be all excited about the fact that this woman doesn't have a child, and the reason why she don't have one is because she miscarried. Right there, he already X'd himself out anyway, because I was no longer interested, because you don't know my story. You have no idea why I don't have any children. You have no idea what has transpired or happened in my life that has prevented me from having children. You have no idea that I was told for pretty much all of my adult life that I would never conceive a child. And when I finally actually did, I miscarried. So for you to be excited over the fact that I didn't have a child, I just thought that that was so low budget and trashy that I couldn't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So I figured when CK said, let's talk about it, I said, all right, go, let's talk about it. Because I got to get some stuff off my chest concerning this topic. So you go ahead, because this was you.
Yeah, the thing about it is, a lot of people, they don't really understand what goes into raising a child when you're a single parent. Both sides, you know, someone who's single, who's never had a child, or someone who has a child themselves and they're wanting to date, or someone who has children and wants to date somebody with children. I don't think we have enough conversation to really discuss the different dynamics that goes into it, to fully understand what is needed when you're dealing with basically bonus kids or bonus children. And, you know, I hate that the guy approached you and said, you know, it's good that you didn't have children and, you know, he didn't know your story. People really should be upfront with what they want. So it's good that he was upfront exactly, you know, what he wanted, what he didn't want, because people are entitled to their preference. And it's better for them to kind of communicate, hey, I'm not really into raising someone else's child, or I'm not really into someone who has children, or I don't want children, as opposed to you dating them and then you become emotionally invested. And now that's something down the road you got to deal with. Whereas if you would have known that up front, you could have made an informed decision as far as relationships. So yes, I think it is really good to discuss it, especially now with the COVID the way it is, and a lot of children are going to be going back to a brick and mortar school. They're going to have to take the vaccine. There's a lot of different complications that are pretty much arising, especially with people being quarantined together and not being able to leave the house. So you got a lot of divorces that are happening. A lot of people are arguing, and I think that we need to make smarter decisions when it comes to relationships in general, especially when dealing with children.
Sam, what you got?
I think Sam might be frozen.
I think you might be right. Let's see. You know, let me tell you this. This is what listen. Like I always say, welcome to the world of podcasting, because you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Your Wi-Fi could be messed up. It's okay, Sam. I completely get it, because this is like welcome to the world of good old podcasting. Okay.
It's her first time.
Yes, it is. So I want to commend Sam, because it is her first time being on a podcast, being on a broadcast. Gale just said something. She said, or they don't want to be responsible for anyone's children. And Gale, I agree with that, because some people really do not want the responsibility of someone else's child. They don't want to be in a home with someone else's child. And also because some folks think that they are entitled to have an opinion about how you raising your own child. And this goes for men and women alike, right? So a lot of the times when you're dating someone that does have a child, and you see something that they're doing that you might possibly just not like, you might not be, your opinion might not be welcome. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people feel that, you know, if I'm dating you and I see something, that I should say something. And sometimes you might need to feel the room and see if you could say anything. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of, and it, like when a man ran down all his reasons why he didn't want to date no woman with no child and everything like that, and that was, you know, one of his reasons. And then on top of that, another one of his reasons, it was I guess there was a woman in which he had met, and she had an older child, and the son still lived in the house with her, but the son was older. So he had an opinion about that. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you can't tell a person what to do with their child, whether they're a grown child or not. You know what I'm saying? So that was another one of his issues. Like, I no, because I couldn't get with that. You got a whole grown son in the house and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, so, okay.
Yeah, preference. Because to be honest, I could date someone that had a grown child in the house. It's just that we got to lay down, the boundaries as far as, what my role is and is not, because they're grown. So we're not raising this child together. It's not a bonus child. This is basically another adult in the house. So, I'll probably ask questions like, is there a plan for this grown child to move out? Is the grown child going to stay there indefinitely? Is the grown child working? What exactly is the dynamic with this grown child? And then even with somebody who has a child, when it boils down to it, you kind of have, you're also not just dating the person plus their child, you're also dating that other parent. Even if that parent is not in that child's life, you still are somewhat dating that other parent, because you could be stepping into a role where the person that you're dating is looking to replace the other parent, or the person you're dating is looking for someone to help out with the child. And there's just different, you definitely want to have that communication and conversation to understand what is my role going to be with you and dating your child? Like, do you want me to meet your child? When do I meet your child or your children? What exactly is expected of me? Because if your child is acting up and is doing something in my presence, even though I'm not the father, I'm still an adult, and I'm still, if you don't give me left and right limits, I might say something to this child if they're acting unruly. So, especially like there was one time I was dating a woman, true story. She was a single parent, and her son had moved in with me, and her son, he was a brat. And so he's in my back seat. It was just he and I had her on speakerphone. We were just talking about something, and he just started to kind of have a fit because she told him no about something that he wanted. So he's having a fit in my vehicle. So I'm yelling at him like, "Hey, take your feet off my chair. Stop kicking the back of my seat and sit down and buckle your seatbelt. We're not going to have no fit." And she, in turn, started to have friction with me because I'm yelling at her son. But I'm like, okay, if you don't want me disciplining your son while he's in my vehicle, kicking my seats, then I got the speakerphone on. You can say whatever you want to say to him. And she really wasn't she was just telling him to sit down, but she wasn't really using an assertive voice to where it was believable as far as I'm concerned. So I ended up turning the vehicle around, going back to the house that they moved in, which was my place, and sending him to his mom, and then going to the store, running errands and all that. And we were supposed to be bonding, he and I, but because I wasn't able to discipline him on any level without pushback from her, it was almost like I had a choice. Either I was going to just not be involved with the aspect of him, or somewhat be a prisoner in my own stuff.
You have children?
I have a son, yeah.
Would you allow the mom's boyfriend to discipline your son?
Nope. I wouldn't. However, she needs to instill the discipline. Like, it shouldn't be to where this other guy is having to step in and say something to him. She needs to be on it.
But children are children, right?
Well, children are children, but they need structure. They need discipline.
But even the most structured child is still a child, right?
Right.
So that child is still going to be a child. You could teach a child, listen here, here's manners, here's rules, here's respect, Here's character. We can teach a child all this stuff, but the child is still going to be a child if the child feels like he or she is not getting whatever he or she wants, right? So the child might fall out, right? Now, and I actually, that's why I said, do you have children? Because if you won't allow another man to discipline yours, why do you think that you can discipline someone else's?
Well, so that's a good question. So it's like this: spare the rod, spoil the child, right? And she and I never really talked about disciplining her son. It was just kind of like we were just kind of like going with the flow. So she's on speakerphone, she's hearing him, he's with me. Now, if my son were with another man without his mom with him, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I'm not, if he's damaging the guy's vehicle, I'm going to kind of understand if he wants to yell at the child. Now, I don't want him to put his hands on the child. I wouldn't put my hands on someone else's child, but you're not going to damage my property. And I think that's where we drop the ball when it comes to children, and that we're letting them be children, but they cannot be destructive. They can have a fit. They need to have a fit in the corner or have a fit in a controlled manner. He was destroying property. Well, not destroying property, but he was kicking his feet against my seat. So at that point, it's destroying property.
It is not destroying property.
It is. You're not gonna kick my seats. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. That that almost was a deal breaker as far as our relationship. You're not like, let's say if a woman and her child were to come over to my place and want to hang out, and he's throwing a football around, and it's not knocking anything over, but he's throwing the football around. Number one, it's my place. And if I look at you and you're not making a move to discipline your child, I'm going to say something, because you're not going to be at my place, doing whatever you want to do, thinking that it's all gravy and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to say something if you don't. Now, if you step in and you and I butt heads and you don't understanding that this is my vehicle, this is my home, this is my stuff, and your child is just able to just kind of, jumping up and down on the sofa, or throw a football around, or do whatever he or she wants to do, both y'all can get out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Both y'all can get out, because I'm telling you, because see, this is the thing. The kid that hid his mom when he moved in, he clearly was a spoiled brat. But that's her kid, between his mom and his dad. That's how they raised him. However, if they're coming in my home, like, even though she and I are dating, if she's moving in with me in my place, or even if let's say if his mom and I got married and it was our place, I'm still the man of the house. I'm now the father, and I'm still going to instill rules. Children, no child is going to just run amok and say whatever they want to say or do whatever they want to do. There's going to be structure, there's going to be rules, because if you do not give left and right limits, that child's going to just roll on out and get more and more spoiled and get crazy. Now, I know you want to say something. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you finish talking, because I got to write this shit down. Go ahead. Yeah, I got to.
I mean, that's straight up. Yeah,
I got to
straight up. It's, left and right limits.
Left and right limits. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. I mean, because think about it. All right, let's say you're dating somebody. They have a child. It's just you and the child in the vehicle. The child's in the back seat. Okay. The child has a fit for whatever reason. That child starts to punch the window. Are you going to sit there and be polite and be like, please, Johnny, stop punching the window? Let's say the child starts to open the door and wants to open the door while you're driving. Are you going to be polite? Please, Johnny, don't open the door. We're moving. No, you're going to yell to get that child's attention. And if the parent's upset with you, you can just try to have a quick discussion as to what's going on. If that parent's not trying to jump in and correct the child's poor behavior, both y'all finna get out of my stuff. Point blank, period. Hey, I got it. I know other people will let significant others and children run all over them. No, ma'am. And plus, we're in a pandemic too. No, ma'am. I'm not about to, if I get a stimulus check, I'm not about to spend my stimulus check fixing no window or no door because your bad kid, or not bad kid, but because your kid or child rather is having a fit and is starting to punch and destroy stuff because they lack discipline. And now I'm going to like use my money to replace that. Because believe me, the thing about it is, not trying to be sexist, but a lot of women, if their child destroys something, not all, but there's a nice amount of women that will not replace what their child destroys because they're thinking you're the man in the relationship. If you want to be with us, you're going to be expecting this thing. Yeah. I see a lot of comments saying, wow, you know, Clive Chang is with me. Clive is cool. Clive is cool.
Clive is not cool.
Why is Clive not cool? Clive seems pretty cool so far. He's all right. Clive, you all right with me?
You just saying that because he agreeing with you. He's like, with you, my brother. No.
I literally only saw his name and saw the profile picture and was like, okay, he seems pretty straight. And then when I read the comment, I was like, oh, okay, it's a bonus because he agrees. But even if he didn't agree, you know what I'm saying, he would still be cool. But that's the thing, you know, that's why I wanted to have this discussion as far as single parents, because most of the time when it boils down to it, people only focus on someone having a child or children means you have more mouths to feed as far as being a provider and a protector if you're a man. And if you're a woman, that means this is more mouths to feed than you were bargaining for as far as you cooking. And if you're, you know, as far as like cleaning, not saying that's you know, a gender role for that. I mean, if it is, it is. But if somebody brings their child over or children over, you're going to have to clean more. So we think about stuff like that, which is no brainer, but we don't think about things like when things are going negative as far as the downs in a relationship, like a child's throwing a fit, or let's say a child gets sick. That child gets sick and you might have to help out with a medical bill, or let's just say the child's other parent has a problem with you. Now you not only you dealing with your significant other and possibly the child that's having issues associated with growing up, but now you got to deal with this other parent. So it's a lot to unpack when it comes to dating, and you really want to have an in-depth, full conversation with whoever you're sitting down with for dinner, lunch, breakfast, or what have you. You really want to sit down and have that conversation, because if you don't, you'll be in a situation like I was in, because I didn't have that conversation, where you're driving to the store, you got his mom or his or her mom or dad on a speakerphone, you're talking to them, and then the child asks the mom for ice cream, the mom says, or mom or dad says no, and they throw in a fit. They're kicking the back of your chair. They're throwing stuff in the car.
You in this chair. You was mad about that chair, wasn't you?
He was sitting behind me. He's kicking the chair as if like, you ever been in a movie theater, you're watching a movie and someone's kicking the chair behind you. You know, the first thing you thinking is, okay, do I have to go to jail today? Now, you don't want to go to jail, right? You don't want to go to jail, but you thinking, you know, if I just tell these people, hey, please stop kicking my chair, will it end there or will it have to escalate? It's the same thing with a child riding with you in your vehicle in your home. And if they're throwing a fit and they're like starting to just damage property or not cause damage, but they're just kicking stuff, punching stuff, doing a whole Dennis the Menace, you know, are you going to politely be like, hey, can you please stop kicking the chair? And they're like, no, I want ice cream. Now you got to go ahead and give them the business, because as soon as you let something go, now that becomes the standard to that child, because children are always trying to test the boundaries and you got to instill that discipline. Yes, ma'am.
Let's go back to this chair. It annoyed you because he was kicking the back of your seat. So meanwhile, he kicking the back of your seat and you popping up and down. Now, let me say this. My nephew did that to me years ago. He had to be about 2. He might have been 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely beat him because I told him 3 times to stop. Right? And
wait a minute, not you.
That's my
not
nephew.
you.
That's my nephew. I shouldn't have did.
Right.
Because he kept kicking it back, and all I see, my friend Callie, she in the passenger seat. All I see her is going up and down, up. I'm like, Christopher, stop kicking the back of my chair. Here he go, kicking it back, boom, kicking it back, boom. I said, Christopher, stop kicking the back of the chair. Here he go. He kept doing it, so he got beat. So I get the frustration part. The difference is, number one, that's my nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, my sister knew that if he act up with me, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna get beat. Number three, he's my nephew. So the difference is, and I'm a share and not share at the same time. My sister's not with my nephew's father, right? But she married her husband. Now, my sister gave permission for the husband to discipline my nephew, but his father did not. So whose rules trumped? For lack of better words, because we don't like Trump here. But his father's rule trumped that. Why? Because he's the father. So I think that sometimes, and then what happens is, I just think that men and women, y'all got to talk this stuff out when it comes down to disciplining a child that's not your own biological child. Now, for some odd reason, I have always dated men with children, always.
Mm-hmm.
For some odd reason. And I've never had to discipline not one of their children ever. And their children have been in my home, visited for weekends, all of that stuff. And I've never had to discipline none of their children. Number one is because I don't put myself in a disciplinary role over someone else's child. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, that's not to say that the child didn't act up. That's not to say that I might not have had to say, stop. Right? Now, I get what you're saying as far as, okay, the mother's on the phone. She can clearly hear the chaos that's going on in this background. Mm-hmm. And you felt she probably should have took a more assertive tone than the tone that she took. But I feel that if the child wasn't listening to her, and then the child definitely wasn't listening to you, your best bet was to do what you did, which is turn around. Here you go. Take your child. Because this child ain't acting right, right?
It ain't acting right.
It ain't acting right. So I'm gonna drop this child right off to you. You keep your child who ain't acting right, because I'm gonna have peace over here with myself and not deal with this child kicking the back of my chair. Yeah, and I think that's the way. You know what I'm saying? If a child is unruly and you supposed to be with me, no, we're going about this good face. You going back with whomever your parent is, because what I'm not going to do is deal with this. Now, when my nephew was a different story because he was my nephew. So my sister understood and knew that if he act up when he was with me, he was going to get dealt with right then and there. But that was my nephew. But when it came down to who could discipline him, as far as her husband, whom was not his biological father, and his father was very clear. Your husband cannot discipline my son, period. And I think that sometimes for a man needs to ask a woman, have you and this child's father discussed any of this? Because like you said, that's why I asked you, do you have children? You said, yeah, I got a son. Would you let another man discipline your son? No. So therefore you can't take the role of disciplinarian, like you said, because, like you said, they living in my house, so I become father. No, you become father figure in the household, but you don't become father. And I think that's another thing that happens is, as like, that was like for my own personal self. I never became that child's mother. I'm not their mother. I can't replace their mother. But what I can be is a woman of respect, one whom they can look up to, and a mother-like figure, right? So how does a mother-like figure act? A mother-like figure is going to tell, listen, don't do that. Stop. Or you're going to go to your father. Mm-hmm. Right? Because number one, it saves tension in the relationship. It saves the tension within a relationship. Why? Because why am I beefing with you over your child? I don't want to be. Why am I making that a point of contention? That shouldn't be a point of contention. It's a child. Me and you, we should be able to discuss this like two civilized adults. But now you over here because you and your child could go. I'll be like, what the hell? You know what? We're going to get the hell up out of here. We roll it out. Yeah. It's rude. How the hell you going to tell me you and your child could go? What in the world?
See, I like how you said, basically, you know, the father of the child of your, I think, nephew was letting it be known who can discipline the child, who can't, as far as the rules. However, someone's got to do something, especially if a child is throwing a fit, they're unruly, and they're starting to affect objects. Now, I could have checked her, which I did, but if the child is affecting objects, kicking seats,
what is that? Did the child bust a wall?
doesn't matter.
Did the child bust a wall?
No.
Was something broke?
No.
Did anything? Was something in danger of really and truly being broken?
It's the principle of the situation.
No.
You cut it off. You cut off the bad behavior that's causing, I say, an offense against objects before it escalates. Because that's really what it's about. Is, you know, it's different if the child's acting up in a store and the mom is there. Okay, cool. The child's acting up in a store, just me and the child. Yeah, I'm going to call the mom and be like, hey, your child's acting up. What you want me to do? Do you want to say something? Okay, cool. Now, if the parent is like saying something and the child's not listening to the parent, at this point, if the child's not trying to do anything harmful to me or my property, the child could just have a fit in the middle of a floor and they're good. But if they're throwing stuff at TVs, if they're kicking chairs, if they're knocking stuff over, no ma'am. It's at that point, I have to step in as an adult where this child is affecting my property and step in and say something if you're not. Now, if it comes down to it and you're upset with me because I said something because he's kicking my chair, both y'all can get out. That's it. Because I'm telling you, because what's going to happen is, let's say you let that go. The child throws a fit in your vehicle that you pay for, kicking your chair, you know, just acting a fit. You let that go. The parent or parents did what they're going to do. You let it go. The next time, that child's going to know that you cannot do anything to discipline him or her.
So let me ask you this. So okay, when you put on your assertive voice, the child didn't stop.
He was acting like he was shocked. He froze. So he did stop. So yes.
And what happened after that?
Then his mom started fussing at me. Don't be yelling at my son. What are you doing? Don't be yelling at my son. I can't believe you yelled at him. You're going to make him cry.
Did he cry?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He was good. I don't think he needs therapy. I mean, his mom and I aren't together, but I don't think he needed therapy. And I mean, it's like this. I know how it sounds.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
How long after y'all got together did y'all start living with each other?
It was at least like 8 months. So it was a real progressive relationship.
And at what point, see, I like Nareeba's question. At what point do you discuss adult child responsibilities when dating? Because y'all never had that discussion in those first 8 months. Y'all never had that discussion knowing that she had a child.
That's a good question. So unfortunately, she was one of those mothers that sent her son to live with her parents majority of the year. So it wasn't until she and I started kind of getting more and more serious that there was discussion of us living together and her son coming to live with us. So there was
pause.
Yeah.
Rewind.
Rewinding. Bring it back.
Yeah. Park. Her son didn't live with her?
Nah.
So, truth. See, this is where understanding needs to come into play. Truth of the matter is, for however long the son was living with her parents, with his grandparents, you don't know what structure the grandparents had in place for the child, right? Because they're grandparents. Yeah, I didn't know. Right? So now you're dealing with a woman that for however long she had the child living with the grandparents for however long. Did she ever tell you how long he was living with them for?
You know what? I didn't even ask.
So you didn't ask some of the most important questions concerning her abilities to mother.
Well, the reason why I didn't ask was because it's one of those things where as a man, unfortunately, I'm just, this is basically just me, myself speaking, but I've never really just had to evaluate someone as a parent. So that is something that I kind of missed, but we kind of discussed the different dynamics and changes that he's going to have to face with moving in with me, or with us rather, like changing school districts. But it never dawned on me.
He got to deal with her.
Well, it never dawned on me that he was a problem child.
He's not a problem child. He's a child that did not live with his mother. He's a child that was given to grandparents. And then when the mother got a man, she decided, now I want my child to come live with us, when she never fully parented that child. So now this child, his entire dynamic, he wasn't a problem child. He was an abandoned child that had an issue. So now he got to deal with you yelling at him. He got to deal with, and then her own parental guilt, which is the reason why she didn't want you yelling at him, because she has to deal with the fact that she wasn't fully there either, because he was living with it. All that stuff is important. See, and that is where the importance comes into play with anybody honestly dating someone with children. How do they parent that child? And this goes across the board. This goes with men and women. There are men, you know what I'm saying, that are single fathers or whatever the case may be. And even for my own self, if you're a man and you don't pay your child support, I don't want to date you.
Yeah, I wouldn't date him either. That's why it's a good thing we're having this podcast, because, don't make the mistakes I made and don't ask the questions. Because a lot of guys will date a woman with a child. The child, let's say, may be living with the parents, or just, with the other parent and not around. And you don't really think about things like discipline, structure, how the child's doing in school. Unfortunately, you don't really think about that because it's not your kid. So like my son, I thought about all that because I'm helping raise him with his mom. So I'm thinking about all this stuff because that's like my responsibility. But like someone else's child, even though he was coming to live with me or live with us, it didn't really dawn on me to, somewhat evaluate her as a parent and even give her pointers when I was seeing different things, because I was like, I don't want to overstep my bounds. It was just this one particular time that I actually had to step in and say something, because it was in my vehicle. He's kicking the seats, and it seemed like he was about to get worked up to where he was going to start doing some more stuff, and I wasn't trying to do that. So it's good that we're having the podcast so we can discuss the different nuances that goes with dating a single parent, so people are more informed.
So Clive said, no need to discipline someone's child if his or her parents did their job in raising a child. I don't.
Facts.
That is not facts. Children are children.
I think it's facts.
It is not facts. Children are children. No matter what, a child needs discipline. They're not always going to act right. They're not always going to follow the rules. They're not always going to abide by every single last dot and T that you done told them that they need to dot and cross. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. Children are children. They're going to act up. They're going to need correction. There's nothing wrong with correcting a child. I think there's a difference in how that correction comes across, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, there's a difference in if you're dealing with a parent that is suffering from parental guilt.
Mm-hmm.
A parent, when you're dealing with a parent, mother or father, that has not necessarily been in the child's life the way that they know that they're supposed to be as a parent, there's another aspect to that where sometimes they do let a child get away with a lot of different things that the average person probably would be like, absolutely not. But they do that because of their own personal guilt, and they don't want to feel like they're the bad parent, right? So I think, and that's where I think a lot of understanding needs to come into play. You know what I'm saying? Because Clive did say, he said a broken home produce broken children, and it does. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm not a bad child. I might be misbehaving, right? I'm not a bad child, but I am misbehaving. Why? Because there's some crap that's been going on. How long did you and this woman live together?
Ooh, we lived together about 5 months before we called it quits, but it wasn't because of him. It's a kind of a different show, but it definitely, like, he really wasn't a problem child. He was spoiled. and he did have his problems, but it wasn't. I never really said anything to him as far as disciplining him until that situation in the vehicle. So, I kind of agree with Clive Chang that a broken home produced a broken child. And he, in my opinion, even though I'm not a licensed therapist or a medical professional, like a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I can't really just say that he should be diagnosed with something or he had a mental illness. But I will say that when you're dating someone who has children, you do have to know what your limits are, because if this child, let's say, is unruly and needs discipline, and the parent or parents or family has not instilled the discipline to where you want to be involved in this child's life, it might be in your best interest to vote with your feet. There's so many people that will pull their hair out and get frustrated with a relationship because of children, teenagers, adult children, the way that they're behaving and the way that their parents are acting towards them. People will pull their hair out. And we got to learn that this is not your child. If it's not meant for you, vote with your feet, as opposed to adding more to the plate than there already is.
Katina, tell me what you're not agreeing with. I'm not sure which part she's not agreeing with. She said, I'm not agreeing with that one. So tell me which part you're not agreeing with. Levon said, listening, she said she noticed that you weren't creating a space of it being y'all's home because you said several times, mine.
She's right. She did catch that. And that's she's right. She caught that because it was my home that they moved into. But then I think a couple of times I did correct myself and did say our home. But in all, I'm going to be honest with you. I think when two people move in together or decide to live together, it's best to get a whole other place or be married. But it's best to both of you all get a brand new place, brand new furniture, brand new everything, so that you all both go in it being your home. So she moved in with me. So the whole time it was like me casa, you casa. I never can pronounce that right. However, as a matter of fact, I actually got rid of my furniture and kept her furniture because her furniture was better than mine. So it was my home, her furniture. And if I were to come home and he's like putting a hole in the wall, I'm not gonna just sit there twiddling my thumbs. If he's destroying her furniture, which he didn't do because he had sense to not damage anything in the home or the home itself, except for towards like kind of the end of the relationship when he spray painted the outside of the home. But with that, that was kind of cleaned up, but I didn't really fuss at him or anything. I just kind of let that one go because it's outside of the home and it's real easy to clean. But he besides the spray painting thing, which a child's a child, so I agree with you on that. He had enough sense to where when he threw fits, he would just like storm off into his room and close the door. Okay, cool. I don't hear him damaging anything in there. I don't see any cats that are deceased on the side of the house. He spray painted the outside of the house. He genuinely was sorry. He didn't do it while having a fit. Okay, cool. But when he threw that fit inside my vehicle, I was like, you know what? I'm nipping this in the bud if his mom's not going to, because I don't have time to go through.
What is it with you, this vehicle? I want to understand. You loved your car, didn't you?
Well, it wasn't that I love the car. It was just, it's the principle of the situation where if a child, let's say, writes on the wall because they're having fun, then you understand that's what a child's doing because a child's being a child's place and having fun. They don't know any better. But when a child is throwing a fit and starting to damage stuff or hurt other people, that's when you have to definitely pull their coattail and put them in check, because they're hurting someone while they call themselves not being able to control their behavior. So it's a difference.
My sister said his ass was disrespectful. Listen here, because Katina, if you want, I want you to call in. Because I want to hear what she got to say. Katina, if you can, I want you to call in using here this good code right here. Because I want to understand what you're saying. And I know sometimes as you're commenting, I think that there can be a delay. So I might not be catching everything in what you're saying. So if you want, you have the good floor to call in. Okay, because I want to hear what you have to say.
And can I read some comments? Because I know you won't be able to see the comments on StreamYard because we're like simulcasting on my channel. Can I read off some of the comments
Yeah, you
on my
can. Go
channel?
ahead.
So my me says the step parents and the parents need to come up with how to go about discipline and enforcement. There has to be clear boundaries that from the very beginning, and I think the children should be involved. Yes. She also says if it's a long-term relationship, then you have to be able to constructively discipline the children in the household. Otherwise, just pure chaos, and the other parents should only be with someone. Yeah, it will, and I didn't pay her to say this, but I agree with her that it's going to be pure chaos. And I'm telling you, if you would meet this kid, he definitely was spoiled, and it's almost as if he grew up in a whole other world because where we were living was, let's just say it didn't appear to be open-minded to people who look like me and look like you. So he's having fits at school, he's having fits everywhere, and people are kind of looking the other way.
So
Yes, ma'am.
They was of another persuasion.
Yeah, they were different than you and I.
Oh,
I mean, like people of no color, put it like that.
I mean, right.
Right. So, I mean, and with them, they kind of just let him have a fit and, like you're supposed to. But it's just the fact that he probably would eventually, as he's gotten older, because this was years ago when this happened, he probably has gotten much worse. And you have to understand that in the environment that we're in, the climate that we're in, there have been members of law enforcement that have taken the lives of young people who look like us. And I'm not using that as an excuse to why it was okay for me to yell at him, but it's just that you really
to be completely honest, I'm not concerned with a yell. Right now, do I yell at someone else's child? No, but first of all, I'm not necessarily a yeller, right? Like I'm not, would you please? That irks my whole good soul, but I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say something to you so that you know directly it's coming from me. Like I am saying this. I'm not yelling. I can't do that whole raised voice thing, but I am going to say something to you. So I think that, and that probably was what, made her a little nervous. You know, the truth of the matter is you never know how people perceive things, right? And you never know what took place in someone's background, right? Look at my sister. Mm-hmm. I don't see the problem with what you did, sir. Nadia, you would let a man yell at Jason?
You know what? I like her.
No.
I actually already liked her before she made that comment. It's just that I had to find time to say that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I mean, I want to cut you off and say that while you were talking. I'm dead serious. I was gonna say, hey, I like you, but I didn't want to cut you off while you were talking. I'm sorry. You mentioned Jason.
Nadia, you would let somebody yell at Jason? See, I think I probably would have more of the problem with it than anybody else, because I can't. I cannot. Not when it comes to my niece and 3 nephews. I'm ready to fight.
Well, basically, the first person to fight would be them if they're in a store knocking stuff off the shelf. Yeah, because I mean, if they're knocking stuff off the shelf in a store, you better be they better be the first target, not anybody else coming up talking about some, hey, what's going on? Because I'm telling you, it's one thing to throw a fit. There's 3 different things. So the first thing is a child being playful and damaging property, but they don't know any better. Like they're writing on a wall, they're taking a toy out of a package, playing with it in a store. They don't know any better. So that I understand. Everybody's kind of understanding that, sometimes children, they don't know any better. You got to teach them, and you got to train them. The second thing is they're throwing a fit, but they're just falling on the ground. They're just crying. Okay, cool. Cry away, get it out your system, go sit in the corner, or we're going home. and you're going to, sit in the corner, go to your room. We're going to take some stuff away. Now, if a child is throwing a fit and is harming someone else or attempting to damage property, now it's at a point where it's like, mom and dad ain't doing nothing. Well, I'm going to check the parents and check the child. Everybody's getting checked, because last thing we need is a child who's unruly, who is attempting to damage stuff, possibly hurt others. And because people are kind of being soft shoe with them, this child now believes that this is the standard. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want a child to believe that their negative or bad behavior that's possibly or actually hurting someone, possibly or actually damaging property, is acceptable behavior. Because once you make that the standard, now it's harder to bring that child back to being civil like they may have been before, because they have somewhat regressed to how they were when they were a baby, as far as not really having any discipline and not having any boundaries and not having any thought as to the consequences of their actions.
All I'm going to say is,
Everybody on my channel, subscribe to the Muzzle is Off podcast. I'm gonna get the actual YouTube name and drop it down. Sorry, I've been rude. I haven't really, because people have been kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Let me get this. I'm gonna drop the link in my chat. Everybody go subscribe. It's Nakia Moan. I think it's Monet. Sorry about that. Nakia Monet's YouTube channel. Everybody subscribe. Leave your children at home if they're gonna damage property, because they may be allowed to run rampant. Just joking. All right, so that's in my chat. That's Nakia Monet's YouTube channel. Subscribe to her. Let's get her to 1,000 subs before summer. So everybody share the link. Everybody share the channel. So see, Clive Chang is saying, well said, my brother, because I'm telling you, right. Marcus Sampson saying everybody getting checked. And it's different if you're talking about, it's different if you're talking about a child, playing around and writing on the wall, playing like fantasy. Okay, cool. Or if they're throwing a fit and they're just laying on the ground and just crying. Okay, cool. The parents got that. I'm walking away. I'm going to act like I don't see the child. But as soon as that child starts picking up rocks and throwing it at people, or picking up a stick, trying to hit someone, kicking the back of chairs, kicking tires, at this point, this child is heading down the road of being destructive, and you got to nip it in the bud. Now, one thing I will say is this, and this is what I believe. I don't have any reports or anything, but and my belief is, when it comes to a child, the child needs both the mother and the father, but the child needs the father more once that child starts walking and talking, because we as men are more disciplinarians than the mother. The mother can snatch a child up and, and use her belt and all that. But as far as really instilling, boundaries and discipline, having the deep voice, being able to look at things using logic and reasoning as opposed to emotion, we as men, we as fathers are kind of better to deal with that. Because the same way how, no offense, Nakia, the same way you were kind of like, nah, I'm not letting anybody discipline my child. But when I gave the 3 different examples, there comes a time where you have to somewhat overstep your boundaries, even if it's someone else's kid, because it's in the best interest of society. Because this child, and this is going to sound like I'm taking a big leap of logic here, but this child can become older and now is a menace to society. But for that child getting that discipline immediately when something happens that was not considered socially acceptable for anyone, if you don't step in and nip that situation in the bud, now that child gets older, that child starting to bully other kids, that child starting to have risky behavior. And it could have been that one domino that you could have stood up and kept from toppling over that can have that child go from on one path in life or the other path, especially if the parents are somewhat soft shoeing when it comes to disciplining their own child when they're attempting to damaging property, attempting to harm others or harm others.
And I can get with that. And I definitely understand all of that, right? But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, all of that needs to truly be discussed way beforehand. Like that needs to be discussed way beforehand. Like y'all should, or once you decide to move in with someone, a lot of that needs to be discussed at that time, right? Because it leaves no room for misunderstandings, right? And it keeps everything open so that two people
Right.
will understand exactly where they're at. You know, me, I'm a little different. Listen, I'm a little different. I don't discipline other people's children. I personally, I just don't. I don't discipline other people's children. I'm not even going to like yell. You understand what I'm saying? But what I will do is I will definitely let my point be heard, right? Like if your child is being disrespectful directly to me, I'm going to deal with the child and that being disrespectful, right? But I'm not going to I'm not putting my hands on somebody else's child.
Right.
I'm not getting up in that child's face. I just think that there's a way in which you can handle a situation to where the child will understand that you're going to always command respect. And I believe that, you know what I'm saying? That's how certain situations like that need to be handled. And there's a difference when you're dealing with grown children, especially, you know, when you're older and now, you know, you start dating people that have, they have grown children. That's a totally different dynamic as well, because at the end of the day, that grown child is grown. So that's, you know, at the end of the day, like if it were me and the man had a son, he had a grown son. Okay. You're a man and I'm a woman. So we're gonna have a mutual line of respect, man, woman. Or if you have a daughter and your daughter grown, we woman to woman. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in that aspect and in that realm, that's the parent's job. Even when you date a woman and she has a teenager, that's the parent's job right there, right? A teenager needs to know how to respect an adult, period. Right. So I believe in all of that. But I just can't get with certain forms of discipline of especially smaller children. I can't get with it at all. Like if I did have a child and my child was younger or whatever the case may be.
So Marcus Sampson says, if my kid disrespected you, you better check him. People are saying they're trying to call in, but I guess the line is busy.
Hold up, Katina. I'm fixing it right now. That's what I was doing as CK was talking. I'm fixing it, girl. See, y'all see it.
Yeah, it's a couple people on my channel trying to call in too. But yeah, Marcus Sampson says, if my kid disrespected you, you better check him. You don't have to overdo it. Make sure he knows you're an adult. Yeah, so I'm not promoting anybody putting their hands on anybody. I mean, you kind of, if it gets to a point where a child is attempting to harm someone else or attempting to damage property, and you say something and they're not stopping what they're doing, then at that point, yes, you do want to possibly get law enforcement involved if you're not trying to intervene in a way that you think is justified, especially if the parent is sitting back, you know, watching or acting like one of those parents in Walmart, letting little Jimmy with the dirt underneath his feet run around, running amok. You know, you definitely want to intervene, especially if there's possible danger or dangerous situation. But we don't want to put our hands on another person's child. But if you're dating somebody and it's just you and that child alone, and this child starts doing some crazy stuff, hey, if y'all can nicely talk him or her out of doing what they're doing, more power to you. But if it boils down to it and they're in your vehicle or they're in your home and they're trying to set fire to something, hey, let me know how that goes, trying to be nice with the child after, you know, you've already communicated with the parent and the parent or parents aren't really trying to do what needs to be done to stop this child. As a matter of fact, my aunt, her house was burnt down because her grandchildren were playing around with fire in the home, and my cousin, who was her daughter, you know, she disciplined them, but it just wasn't enough, and the children burnt the house down. And you know, looking back, I think if a man was around, I'm just my opinion, I think if their father was involved in their life, they might have been more afraid to disobey their grandmother and their mother. But I mean, the way that she snatched them up the first time they were caught playing with matches and fire, I was scared. I'm bigger than her, and my heart was beating. I'm like, there's nothing more you can do it for these kids. And they burnt the house down, and they also set fire to, you know, because kids will play around, and that's just it. You know, if
hold up, I think we have someone on the phone. Let's see. Hold up.
Okay.
Caller, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Is this Katina?
No.
Oh, well, state your name and tell us where you're calling from.
I'm Jasmine. I'm called Kyle.
Hey, well, come on and give us your commentary on what we're talking about, this dating in 2021, and whether you should date people with children or not, and the risk.
Well, first, I'm going to say you guys are both great. I really enjoyed the commentary. And I think if you're going to date people with kids, you do have to be on the same page. The parents with the children should probably go ahead and set some ground rules as far as like discipline, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. But I think they also have to be willing, if they want somebody to come in there and co-parent, to be able to give them some advice of what they think, you know, as far as the best way of discipline as well. Because different people have different ways of discipline, and they can both work, you know, when it comes to children.
You're on mute.
The sound seems kind of low. Is there a way to like turn her up or something, or?
Hold up, let me see.
Yeah, because even Clive Chang is saying that she's very low as far as the volume. Yeah, Angela Stevens says she can't hear her. Hey, caller, is it possible for you to kind of turn your phone volume up, or maybe you know, take us off a speakerphone and talk into the phone or something?
Yeah, because the volume.
I can hear you, but I can't hear them.
Yeah, for some reason you're coming in kind of low. Where I was able to make out what you were saying a little bit, but to have a back and forth with you, in my opinion, we kind of need you to be a little bit louder as far as volume. I know that Nakia is working on that right now.
Well, what she basically did say was that she said that you need to be able to have that level of a conversation to communicate with the other parent, and you should have that level of understanding with the other parent.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So one parent might think that like doing push-ups is a great way of discipline, while the other parent might think that's way too hard. So like talking about it and maybe even seeking some professional advice as far as the best way to go about discipline, or it wouldn't actually damage the children in any way, like emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And then go from there. Because if you're gonna get with somebody that does have children and is gonna be like a family together, you eventually are gonna be alone with the kids, and you will have to like discipline the kids if they are, you know, getting out of bounds anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody's doing push-ups, I mean, that's their business. I don't agree with it, but yeah, I agree that eventually you're going to be alone with the child if you're dating somebody who has children. And whether you have your own children and you're going to be alone with that other person's child, with your child, you know, you're gonna have to, unfortunately, step in and discipline, especially if one child is physically harming another. if it's your child harming the other child, it's easy to discipline your own child, but someone else's child may be harming yours, or someone else, and you have to definitely be assertive and do what you got to do to stop this physical harm. I mean, you can try to call somebody and what have you, but in my opinion, if somebody leaves their child with you, they're expecting you to somewhat be a pseudo parent, and that they trust you to make the right decision. So I want to kind of address one thing from the chat. Doug is saying push-ups too harsh. Well, I mean, we're talking about children. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't really want anyone to do any type of corrective action like push-ups for like punishment, because it just, if you're talking about like a 3-year-old doing push-ups for exercise, maybe, but like for discipline, I don't know, because then it just you can end up somewhat hurting the child and causing physical harm that wouldn't really be beneficial as far as them trying to get exercise in the future. Just my opinion.
I agree. So I think you should also, like, if you're gonna choose somebody to do with your kids, they do have to have common sense, and so push-ups, not to the extent where it's like they're in the NFL or anything, but just like mild push-ups, something fun. So behavior.
You kind of cut out there. We heard the push-up part.
I'm sorry.
You heard the push-up part. We heard the NFL part, but
I said, okay, well, if you're gonna have somebody around your kids, then you guys should have common sense. And so if it's a 3-year-old, you don't want to push them to where they're doing push-ups to like an athlete level kind of exercise, and they might end up hurting themselves. Maybe you just come up with something, I don't know, just fun. I found that with different parents, they just come up with different punishments, and the kids react differently to different individuals.
I mean, that's true. That's true, because every child is different. I just I don't know about this whole disciplining somebody else's child.
That's why we're having the podcast, because it's something that once you're like, you don't really think about it, but then once you're put in that situation, you're kind of like, what do I do? So if you're thinking about it before you have to deal with it, it can kind of help you make a more informed decision that you can live with, especially if you really want to be with that other person.
Or something, and maybe setting up a plan ahead of time by talking to each other. Okay, like, these are the rules, and this is what we do. In case this comes up, and if you're not sure in the beginning, if there's not as much trust, maybe let's create some communication, and then figure out what you're comfortable with as a parent. And then in the beginning, if there's not as much interaction with the other person and the children, the more trust you gain, and then the more you're willing to relinquish that responsibility, to someone else.
I can get with that. I think that there definitely has to be a certain level of trust. There has to be a certain level of communication. There has to be a certain level of understanding. However, if I had a child, ain't nobody disciplining my child. It's not happening. Point blank, period. But thank you for calling in. You are the first person to ever call in, so I really thank you. Now that I have figured out how to do this so that you don't sound low. Thank you.
Yay.
You too. Bye. Now who? Oh, wait a minute.
I don't know if
let's see.
Okay.
Hello. Thank you for calling the Muzzle podcast. Who do we have? Oh, mute the podcast in the back. You there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you? No. Hey, Katina.
Alright, this was a little general. It wasn't, it's kind of off topic.
Uh,
As far as like broken homes,
Yeah, the volume's still low on my end.
broken homes, because I thought about everybody. So typically, that's kind of not one of the things. When you were talking about, I think a situation with one particular person, right?
mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So I was off topic.
Oh, okay. So you were referring to the fact that when we said a child coming from a broken home can equate to a broken child.
Right.
Okay.
The home is not, I guess, traditional with the mother and the father, biological.
I got you. Nope, I got you. I completely understand. Okay.
And as far as discipline of children, I think it's kind of like second nature. Not to be able to put your hands on them physically, but I guess to represent them because then they know, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
I agree. I agree. So basically what she's saying, because I know everybody's saying that it sounds a little low. But basically what she's saying is that the two adults need to figure out what is acceptable and what is not. And
Mhm.
once these adults figure out what is acceptable and what is not, then that's what it's going to be. And if you can't come to an agreement, then I do think that at that point you need to decide how you're going to handle that relationship.
Yes, agree.
Okay.
I agree, Katina.
All right. All right. Well, I'm enjoying this, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in, girl. Thank you for calling in. I'm figuring it out, y'all. I'm gonna figure out how to I'm gonna get this sound right so everybody can hear the people when they call in.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, they saying they can't hear you. They saying you sound a little low. And the last person I fixed her, so she was coming through clear. So I'm not exactly sure why you sound low.
You may need like a external um, speaker for straight StreamYard is kind of funny like that. Where if you want to play
Thank you,
audio,
Katina. Bye, girl.
yeah, you have to have like an external speaker or something. StreamYard is weird like that. It won't really play volume from the computer or sound from the computer and where everybody can hear.
So what I'm not using StreamYard for that. I'm using it. It's another program, and I don't know. I'm gonna figure out how to get that program to work right the way it's supposed to work. But um, when I fixed it for the other girl, I just had to shut one thing off and then it fixed. But for her, I think her it might have been her phone. Because I could hear her clearly, but it's not transferring through. So it's something. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm just gonna play around with it. I got until Friday to figure this out all over again. That's it. What Marcus say? Methods of discipline should be a conversation in a serious relationship. Yeah, I agree with that.
I put a comment in the private chat. I don't know if you want me to say it public. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I don't know if you're open to that. If not, I understand.
I mean, if someone wanted to come on and stake their claim, they definitely can. If anybody wants to come on, let me know. If you have any other additional commentary, if you want to come on, you don't have to show your face. You can come on and just. Marcus like Friday. Yeah, Marcus, I got till Friday to figure this out. If you don't want to show your face, it's perfectly fine. You just don't have to give it access to your video. But if you do want to come on, I can drop you the link, and you can come on and state whatever it is that you have to state. If not, I'm still not agreeing with disciplining someone else's child. I do not believe that there is an issue or a problem or a risk of dating someone with a child. I believe that you have to work out the parameters of that relationship within yourself and your mate and y'all discuss what is acceptable.
Yeah, because
Right now, if I had a darn child, ain't nobody touching my child. Letting that be known.
So, all right. So, what would you have done if, let's say you were my woman and you're on the phone and we and I are talking about what I'm going to get from the store, and this child's your son, and he's asking you for ice cream. You say, no, you're not getting no ice cream because you didn't do your homework, and he starts huffing and puffing and throwing a fit. And now he's kicking my chair. And I'm like, hey, babe, he's kicking my chair. What do you do?
We back to this chair.
Well, that's the scenario. But I mean, it could be okay. If a different scenario, it could be we're in our home and he's picked up a knife and he's having a fit and he's going towards the sofa with the knife or scissors. What do you do?
I mean, you're gonna take the scissor or the knife or whatever.
Right. But let's say, let's say you're not there and I got you over the phone. Because the issue is not that the parent, well, okay, so there's two sides of it. There's the parents there, but not doing enough to control the child, and the child is doing whatever and possibly harming someone or possibly damaging property, or it's you're not there and it's communicated to you this is happening, you're yelling through the phone and the child's not listening to you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not yelling through a phone, right? If I'm physically not present and my child is in a position to cause harm or destruct, and I'm not talking about a car chair, I'm talking about actual destruction, right? Then yeah, you have every right to stop the child. Now, I'm not saying that you can put your hands on my child, but you have every right to be assertive and say, cut that, knock it off, cut it off, whatever, right? Go sit down and wait for your mother to get here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't put your hands on my child. I'm not with that part of it. We're not gonna run no physical drills or anything like that. Like we're not doing that. No, we ain't gonna act like we playing football. You ain't gonna tackle my child. We just not. Right. We're not. And also the reason being is because truth of the matter is, as a man, and you being a father, if that was your biological child and your child came to you and said, this is what happened, you probably would feel some type of way, even though you know your child wasn't necessarily acting in the best of light. You might be like, I'm gonna deal with you because you should have been behaving, right? So I'm gonna deal with that. I'm gonna deal with you misbehaving, but I'm also gonna deal with now here the mother and say, so what is going on what's going on at your house? Why are you allowing this man to do X, Y, and Z to my child? And the same thing will go with, as far as me. A mother would have the right to question her child's father and be like, oh, okay, so what are you allowing her to do with my child? Like, what is this? What is going on here? You have that right, because at that point, that child is not yours and you got a right. Okay, someone is joining. Who's this? Hi.
Hey, me. Can you hear us? She may be working on her audio, but that you make a good point, because that's the reason why, in addition to dating not just a significant other, but you're also dating the child and that child's other parent. Because if it boils down to it, I want to have a conversation with the child or children's father, if possible, so we can kind of discuss exactly what his expectations are, what my expectations are, so that way we're on the same page and not fighting in the street like cats and dogs. Because let's say if I yell at his kid about something, I make that decision, and he comes at me and he wants to throw hands. Man to man, that might happen. And we as men, we as women, as women, and we as people need to understand that when you date someone that has a child, that not only are they a ready-made family, but you now are going to be intimately involved with that other parent, whether you like it or not. Now, sometimes you might be in a situation where the other parent's involved, you don't have any issues with the child, and all you are is kind of like assisting your significant other in raising the child. Great. But there's other situations where you have to take more of a hands-on role. You have to be more active, especially if you're all living in the same household together. You're going to be active whether you want to be or not. You might be asked to go to the store and pick up something for the child to eat. Whenever y'all go out to dinner, the child or children might be there. You're buying the other child or children dinner. You may be going to parent-teacher conferences. You're going to eventually be involved. So you do want to communicate and have that conversation. However, you don't want to be in a situation where the child is unruly and your hands are tied behind your back and you don't like that. So you definitely want to figure out what parent style you want to choose, if any. And if you're not comfortable with the situation, be prepared to almost leave the relationship, because when you date a single parent, you also date the child and the other parent. So you're unmuted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Nope, we can't hear you anymore. Oh.
It's all good. So I know you wanted to kind of end it at an hour. If you're still wanting to push, because we're at like an hour and 23 minutes, I have a couple of questions to kind of throw out there.
You can throw them. We're gonna see if the people gonna catch them.
Okay, I got some ninja stars. So, how many dates should there be until someone meets the children or child? So, I don't know if you want to go first, or if you want the audience to kind of weigh in.
Now, because I'm on the opposite side, I'm the one with no children, so I typically date men that have children. I mean, honestly, it's I don't believe that I should meet a child unless we're exclusive. So I don't want to meet your child if we're not exclusive. I don't believe that anyone should have. If you're not seriously committed to this person, they should not be introduced to your children. Period. I believe that it leaves a room of confusion, and I don't believe that, especially for me being. If I did have a child, for me being a woman, if my child sees a revolving door of men around me, I think that leaves a very bad view for that child as far as relationships are concerned, whether it's a female or a male child. So I do not believe that a child should be witness to a revolving door of men and or women. So I believe that it should be reserved for whomever you've actually decided that we're actually in a committed relationship, and then you introduce the children at that point. How many dates does that take? That's up to the individual. How many dates it takes for them to figure out whether they really are gonna lock in and be one with each other and try and take it further. But I am not meeting your child on the second date. I personally am not, and the reason being, I naturally am a nurturer, so my innate ability is I want to protect children. You know what I'm saying? And due to the fact that when I was with my ex and he had all the women around his child, I thought that was it was very disgusting, and it was in poor taste to have a child operate in an area in which she literally had to, cover. Like, she knew if I was around Miss Key, I had to do this. If I was around Miss So-and-so, I had to do this. If I was around Miss So-and-so, I had to do. I just think that's disgusting. So I believe in protecting children, and I also believe that there are certain things that children just should not see. So no, Nakia Monet, I am not. Period. I'm not. I am not. The things that man did and the things that he had his child witness, I think that's almost abuse. You know what I'm saying? I think it's abusive for a child to have to witness things like that, and for a child to have to cover things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that poor child. And she was, she at a young age, she was like 12, 11, 10, 11, and 12. And literally 1 week she seen me, the next week she saw this one, the next week and she had to cover all of that while not exposing her own father. I think that's disgusting. And as a mother, I would never allow my child to be put in that position because you wouldn't see my child.
Right.
So yeah, no, I have I am very protective of other people's children. So no, I don't want to meet anyone's child. If you entertain entertain your multiples. I'm not meeting your child. If we decide that we're going to be exclusive, we're going to be committed, and we're going to do the damn thing, and we're going to live together and stuff like that, at that point, I am all for meeting the children. But other than that, absolutely not. I am not.
Yeah, I agree with Dawn. I probably butchered your name.
You
Merkus.
definitely you butchered you.
Yeah, I did.
That was just say Donnie.
Okay, Donnie.
Thank you.
So I agree with Donnie. There's no number. It's kind of a trick question in a way. I say this much: if your child lives with you, then once you could bring the person over and maybe hire a babysitter or have the child go with the other parent or something. But eventually, I would think that when it gets to a point where you show this person where you live and the child lives with you, if you're that comfortable to show them where you live, then you might as well kind of have that conversation as far as letting them meet your child. Because if, let's say this person is like crazy and you don't want your child to be in danger, well, if they know where you live, they know where you live. So, and if the child lives with you, it is what it is. If the child doesn't live with you, then I think it is, whenever you get serious and you're talking about living together, spending the rest of your life together, maybe even be married, when you're kind of serious. Because to me personally, I don't really bring anyone over to my place unless I'm serious about them, because folks is crazy. And while growing up, I grew up in a bad neighborhood, had my door kicked in a bunch of times, and I am a little protective about my little space. So even if it's a woman, because sometimes, women will play you and they really have a husband or a boyfriend and they're just trying to set you up. So there is that type of stuff that goes on that we as men deal with. So really, and I agree with Nakia as well. So another question is, what are your thoughts on men adopting the significant other's children? And should that be a requirement when it comes to a serious relationship?
No, it should not be a requirement. Okay. No, absolutely not. Now, if for some odd reason the biological father is deceased, that's a totally different ballgame. And you have built a bond with that child, and you have built a relationship with that child, and the child is the one that is saying, you are my dad, you are my mom, stuff like that. That is for the child. And I have a serious problem with people that sit up here and act like they're just going to allow a man or a woman to adopt a child when that biological parent is there and active. And even if he or she is not active, you still do not have the right to take the rights away from that biological parent. I have a very big problem with that because it produces a whole lot of confusion and strife into a child's life that it does not need to be. I believe that I had an issue one time with a friend, and I didn't have the issue, but it was weird. I was just like, no, you don't get the dynamic of this. Where there was a situation where the child, was calling their stepfather because the mother and the father, they married. So the child was calling the stepfather by his first name. And a friend thought that child should not call the father, the stepfather, by his first name. No, you need to call him dad. I said, absolutely not. That's not how that works. This child has a father. This child does not need to call that man dad. That needs to be established with this child. You cannot state what this child needs to do and what this child doesn't need to do. Like, for instance, for myself, my biological father, I wasn't raised with my biological father. My mother got with my dad. we built a relationship. So therefore he became my dad. But when we first met him, he was Mr. Martin. That's what we called him. We called him Mr. Martin. That's who he was until the relationship was established and we felt comfortable enough. And on top of that, because, you know, me and my sister, we weren't raised with our biological father. So therefore that was the relationship part of it. That was the building. And also when I became an adult, it wasn't when I was a child. It was when I became an adult. I asked my dad to adopt me. As an adult, I asked him. Why? Because at that time, I was not raised with my biological father. I did not know my biological father, and I had no real desire to meet him at that time. So I asked my dad. He was the one that was with me. He was the one that taught me how to drive. He was the one that taught me how to ride a bike. He was the one that taught me. So I asked him, I was like, Daddy, why don't you adopt me? Let's go to the court. Let's do this. But I was an adult, so I could sign off on the paperwork. And that's what he did. He adopted me, right? So that's how I got my dad's last name. But I do not believe that that is something that is automatic. And I also do not believe that that is something that a parent can decide. No, you know, and the truth of the matter is, truth be told, had I known certain things as an adult, I probably more than likely would not have allowed my dad to adopt me as an adult. I wouldn't have done it because there were some things that I didn't fully understand. There were some things that I did not know. And had I had full knowledge, I wouldn't have even went for it. So I just believe that all of that whole adoption thing, if the parent is deceased, and this person has been in that child's life and they have established a relationship, then that's something that the person and the child, you know, will establish. But other than that, no. I ain't with it.
Yeah. So believe it or not, but actually the same person, same woman with her son. He walked up to me one day. We were at my in the house. We're in our home. And he asked me if I would adopt him. So he was like 6 or 7. And my first thought was, how does he know about adoption? So I'm thinking maybe his mom, you know, asked him to ask me. And I just told him yes. Now, even though the relationship didn't work out because of cheating, I went ahead and I told him yes. And if his mother wouldn't have stepped out on me, I probably would have adopted him. He would have had my last name and everything. And the reason why I would have made that decision is if, you know, they're already living with me, if we're going to get married, you might as well adopt and actually be the father. That's what my thought process was as far as me telling him. But later on, I had a conversation with her and I was like, okay, he asked me this. I know a 6 or 7-year-old doesn't really know much about adoption. I'm sure you and he had a talk. You don't have to tell me if y'all did. You know, his father is in his life. I think you and his father should kind of have this conversation that your son asked me to adopt him. You know what I'm saying? So because it just seemed like it was a messy situation, but I gave the child the answer because, you know, I don't think it was my place to really just have an in-depth conversation with him before someone had a conversation with his father. So it was a messy situation. And I think it was maybe because maybe she was trying to get child support or something. I don't know. But so yeah. All right, next question. And Eddie, I don't know if the way you're looking, you're kind of like looking bewildered. That's actually how I was looking too when he just came up to me and asked me to adopt him. I had the same look. So we're both on the same page. Yeah. All right. So palimony is the division of financial assets and real property on the termination of a personal live-in relationship wherein the parties are not legally married.
Yeah.
Is it worth the risk of palimony and child support for the children that you did not create if you move in together and break up? So I'm going to go ahead and go at bat first with this. And this is my answer. To be brutally honest, it is not worth the risk of palimony and child support to let someone move in with you if you're not going to actually be a family. There's people right now who are struggling during this pandemic with people they are married to and they do have a family with. And there's also people who are struggling with people, family and non-family members that they've let move in with them, and not everybody's pulling their weight. And the more people you add to your household, that's more mouths to feed, and it's more than likely your income has not increased. So you have a finite amount of resources, you got more mouths to feed. You're going to be struggling more than likely. Not everybody, but you're going to be struggling. I don't think it's worth even helping someone out because of the risk of palimony and child support. In addition to the fact that once someone moves in, after a certain number of days, depends on your state, how many days it is as far as the law, you may end up, or they may end up getting squatter rights. And now you can't kick them out legally without going through some type of process. And this does not constitute legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. If you want one of those, get one of those. It's for entertainment purposes only. But just because a lot of laws protect people who are somewhat benefiting by moving in and benefiting by coming into someone else's life, I don't recommend it unless you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you really want to be with this person and you're going to be getting married one day, spend the rest of your life with them, because your life can turn into a living HELL just by helping someone out or just by making an emotional decision to bring this person and their child into your space.
See, and then he goes on mute. Y'all can't see that he muted himself, but I can see that he muted himself when he dropped that. So let's deal with palimony. First of all, in order for someone to be awarded which I'm happy a lot of people don't really know about this, but since he wants to bring this up on his good podcast, so let's do it.
Let's do it.
You gotta not work. So, and it's only let me say this. Y'all need to look up the laws in y'all own states. That's number one, right? But for the state of New Jersey, palimony is not just awarded. I live in New Jersey, so I'm only going to talk about New Jersey. Palimony is not just awarded to any old body. There are rules to it. There are regulations to it. And at the end of the day, the person needs to not work. And you need to be in a long-term relationship where you are the sole financial support of that person because they did not work. That's the same thing with alimony when people are married and the person did not work and you made a whole lot more money than them, and then you're responsible for a specified amount of time to pay them a monthly alimony or palimony amount.
Squatter. The squatter right.
That's after 30 days.
I mean, look, people are moving their booze in, they getting booed up for 30 days, and then all of a sudden, here comes the attitude. All of a sudden, here comes the hormones. And then, sometimes with men be having.
But okay, pause. That's a bunch of BS.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
Let me say this. At the end of the day, and yes, do some people claim squatters' rights in places? That is part of the reason why you don't move into my place. I don't move into your place. But if we're going to go on in that realm, then we're going to get a place. Okay, right. So there's no squatters' rights here. Like there is a responsible way of handling a lot of this stuff, but we also have to understand the level of maturity and growth that Marcus said 30-day boo. I know, like you just the boo 30. You know what? There is a level. At the end of the day, I think that when you were a child, you act as a child, you spoke as a child, you thought as a child. So there were certain things that we did when we were younger that at the age of 40, I'm just not doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, hey Jamel, everybody just ain't moving in right away. You know what I'm saying? You just not, you're not gonna be up in here with absolutely no job and no means of support. I did that already. I married somebody like that. We're not doing that no more. Like there's a lot of dynamics that go with that. And I think that if we constantly are looking at the total negative, especially in viewing it in a negative, at what point are you really and truly just going to be happy? Like at what point will you begin to open yourself up to the possibility of love and commitment and exclusivity and, you know, building and all this other extra stuff? Like if I really wanted to sit here and think, oh, you could claim squatters' rights. I claim whatever the hell you want to claim, because I can move and you can squat right on up in here and I will sign what they call it. They call it something where I could basically get my name off of a lease and your name can be the only name on it. Okay. And you could squat yourself right on up in here and pay the bills by yourself. Cause I'm going to move. Like,
well, Doug in the comment section says, so Doug in the comment section says, you don't need 30 days. All you need is a piece of mail to the address. Now, even though Nakia is responsible, even though Jamel is responsible, there's crazy people out here. I'm telling you all, the crazies are out here. And sometimes people can send you the representative or send you or be fake, and you can get caught up. You have to, I agree with you, Nakia. You got to have compatibility. You got to connect, and you got to know this person is the one. And there's a lot of people
meeting this person and moving them in like right away. Like you, at the end of the day, folk got to build.
People need to build all day. I agree, but it's people out here doing stuff like that, and that's really the one of the main takeaways that should be is, you know, we gotta plan better. We gotta make better decisions, because even though the three of us on this panel may not be doing these things, this happens more often than you think.
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, hell, you know, you get some of them little squatters that like listen, when it get cold outside, they want to come squat. Don't you ain't squatting here. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ain't nothing squatting over here, unless you're doing actual squats
or the bust down challenge, the busted challenge.
Do something, work it out.
I mean,
don't
what I'm hearing, because I've definitely laid on this show, but from what I'm hearing, I think it's hard to determine who really has. It's hard to determine who really has a pure intent these days, because people know how to hide themselves. They know how to hide, and they'll give you like CK, like my brother here said, they'll give you the representative. And that representative will be there for a long, long time. And
facts.
They will. I'm telling you, they will plan to wait for the right moment to do what they need to do. You know, this is the narcissistic mind. This is the narcissist's mind. That's how it happens. You know. So it's like it can't. We have to. And today's time is so different than it was back then. You know, just 10 years ago is just different, because there's so much to hide in, so much to hide around, so many different ways to hide. You know what I'm saying? And some of these people are so delusional, they begin to believe the lies that they've been telling for the longest. So now it's no longer a lie. It has become their truth, and they can't separate their truth from the lie.
I mean, and I agree. Facts. We don't, say facts one more time, okay? Say the facts.
I just want to say that I really like Jamel. I like Jamel. I was, you know what, before he even said anything, I wanted to say that, but I was going to let him speak. I wasn't trying to interrupt him. But, I mean, he's speaking straight facts, because, you know, not trying to cut you off, Nakia, but we as...
You're not going to say not trying to cut you up and then cut off and then continue, but go ahead, okay.
I mean, we as... I'm not going to be sexist, but I'm going to say this much. We as people, men and women, but mainly men, we got to watch out for stuff like this, because there's a lot of, belief that a lot of women want a man who provides and protects. And in that providing and protecting gender role, there's a lot of women who want to level up. They're trying to practice hypergamy, and they will take advantage of you. And you'll be thinking like, man, do you play sports? And she's going to be like, no, I just play men. It's going to be that deep. And you won't know until it's too late unless you see the warning signs, because people are setting the representative, they're setting their masks. They'll go on a date with you, not because they're interested, but because they're hungry.
Who the hell? Oh my God.
I'm going to let Jamel finish, though. I think I cut him off. Go ahead.
He's telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. He's telling the truth and nothing but the truth. And I hate to say it, Nakia, you have to realize you're a mature woman that comes from a different space and a different time. These women today, this is a very treacherous time that we live in.
And y'all men not treacherous? I got stories.
Wait.
Whoa, let Jamel finish. Let Jamel finish. Let Jamel finish.
Let me help you out.
Where the ladies at? I need another female.
No. Let Jamel finish. Let Jamel finish.
This become the issue. How you say her name? Shahrazadeh Ali. She said it years ago, back in '91, on the Phil Donahue show. She was going in expressing to Black women what the issues were and bring it to the forefront so they can address them. There's nothing wrong with having an issue. The problem comes when you don't want no one to address it and you don't want to deal with it. And unfortunately, it has gotten so bad that we're in today's times where Black women will use most, let me make sure I choose my words wisely.
Yeah, because let's okay.
You good.
Understand this. My mother used to say this: only a hit dog hollers.
Facts.
So if it doesn't apply to you, don't worry. It's not applying to you.
I'm gonna worry.
There are women out here who literally plan, and you know how I know? Because I remember my background, Nakia. You know my background.
We ain't going into your background.
And because I know this, I know the mindset. I know what they think and how they do it.
Jamel, how long ago was their background?
That background about what? 20?
We're not going back that far.
Hold on, but it's still going on right now.
It's 100 times worse. Just because I'm not in the industry no more doesn't mean that I don't keep up with the people that's in it now.
But that is a particular industry. Industry does not rule all women.
Not anymore. Women have taken their tips from that industry. Women are acting like, look at Cardi B. Look at Meg Thee Stallion. Look at the videos. We are in a sexual revolution in this country, and Instagram. Most women understand that they have a great deal of power when it comes down to sex. Most men are so eager for a piece of stuff they ain't never had that they'll do whatever it takes to get it. So these women go, oh, so that's what it's about? Well, since you a sucker, I'm gonna use you like a sucker.
Facts.
And that's what they do. And that's where, remember I talked about the term the other week about being simps? Mm-hmm. Men are simps.
I had never heard of that until then.
It's short for simpleton. Yeah. Short for simpleton. Right.
Because they're allowing their desire to be controlled by someone who already has a plan. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women today have a plan to use men. Mm-hmm. And this isn't something that's just happened overnight. This has been going on for years.
Decades.
Miss Ali talked about it on that show 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So imagine, because it's never been addressed in the 30 years, or every time it's addressed, that you give the emotional response. Don't get the emotional response. Hear what's being said, take from it, and say, you know what, that could be true. How do I address it? How do I deal with it? How do I make sure that I don't become that? And it works on both sides, because you got dudes out here that do the same stuff. But you know what I call them? I call them. I'm like, yo, these are men that act like silly women. If you're not a man enough to take care of a woman, or at least have a conversation, but you want to go out of your way to use and abuse, you're not a man. You're not a man. You're a silly woman. You're a chick with a dick.
So let's just go back then.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, over time, this was not common. This was not a common behavior for women.
Are you kidding?
It wasn't. This wasn't a common behavior.
I'm telling you, 30 years ago.
It was not a common behavior.
It was. I'm telling you, 30 I'm telling you.
Right. I agree with Jamel. See, the difference is that now we have social media, so we can have the conversation to communicate and share information more. In the past, like 1950, 1930, it was happening. It's just that we didn't talk. We weren't able to communicate with it. So like somebody might play me, and because she might move to another state.
It was not.
Jamel,
First, hold up. Pause. Let me do this, because I'm not giving an emotional response. I'm giving an actual. It was not a common behavior for women to take on a role to use and abuse and all that stuff. All of this stuff had transpired over time. Over time, the dynamics within relationships changed over time. Family dynamics changed over time. Families were broken down over time. And I'm not going to let none of y'all sit up here and really sit here and state that this is just a behavior of women. This is a behavior of men and women alike. Period.
Did I not state that?
Yeah. No, pause.
Did I not state that?
Pause. The way in which you stated it was as if these are men acting like women. No, these are men. No. These are men. No.
Listen to the wording.
I heard your wording. I heard your wording.
I said silly women.
I heard the wording. I heard it very well. I heard the wording very well. So what I'm saying is you're ascribing a behavior to so-called silly women, a behavior that is similar to both men and women. Men and women do this.
I hate to say this, but if you're gonna go on a tangent on something like, because that's not what I was saying, and I think.
You describe the behavior to say men are acting like silly women.
And
because you're saying that this is what women act like.
Men are supposed to be providers. Am I right? Is that how it's supposed to be? Men are supposed to be providers, right?
So we're ascribing a behavior because a man.
Are men supposed to be providers?
Yes.
Are men supposed to protect women?
Yes.
And not abuse women? Yes. When a man seeks to do this, for me personally, the only reason why I use it is because I'm an older dude. So I'm not worried about the non-binary, the fluid, the bi. I'm thinking of man and woman. If you are not a man, then you're acting as a woman. You want to be taken care of by a woman because you won't take care of your manly duties. And you're trying to take it to a place where I'm trying to dog women out, and I'm not. I'm talking to the man like, yo, where's your nuts, boy? Sack up. Learn how to take care of women. If you don't do that, then you are a woman yourself. I'm not trying to come down on women. I'm trying to say that men are not doing what they're supposed to do. And because they're not doing what they're supposed to do.
Ma, would you like for me to send you this good link? Because we are ascribing certain behaviors as if it's a womanly type behavior. And I get it, because a lot of the times what we'll say when a man is acting like a certain way, we'll basically say he's acting like a female. But that's not the beginning part of the conversation. Was you were describing women that play men. That's what you were describing, right? You were describing women that play men. You were given the attributes of a woman that plays men. And then you said, and for a man to act like that, therefore, because it came from a woman, he's acting like a silly woman. That's what I'm addressing.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't say and therefore. What I'm saying is when a man does not do his manly duty and he begins to want to be taken care of financially by a woman, guess what? You are a woman. When a man does not want to take on the responsibility of protecting the woman, but rather abuse the woman, guess who is now the bigger woman? When a man does
it's
not...
kind of like in that movie.
No, go on, bro. Go on.
Well, it's like in that movie Baby Boy, where you had Jody. You know, he didn't have a job till the very end, and he was abusive. He living at home with his mom. He wasn't trying to take care of Yvette. He was abusive. So, you know, I kind of agree with there being effeminate qualities, like Jamel is kind of alluding to, in my opinion. There's effeminate qualities because most of the time men, we're givers and women are receivers. It's just kind of, it's one of those things where it's kind of like a gender thing that we've just developed over time. And that's why we come together and become one, because women are normally receivers, they are nurturers, but women typically need resources that we as men provide. A lot of women get safety because of the society that we as men provide the safety for. Like, for example, like a lot of women complain about things that could be considered feminism. Feminism cannot even exist without men protecting women collectively from other men so they can complain. Same thing as we as men are pretty much the builder of cities. Women do give birth to children, but while giving birth, the protection of men is what allows them to be able to be pregnant and be in a vulnerable position and give birth. I'm not talking about her man or a husband, but the protection of men collectively in society. That's what allows, women to be exactly who they are and what they are. And women are pretty much receivers and men are givers. We give our blood, sweat, and tears. We provide, we pay all the bills. And I agree with Jamel that when it comes to a point where a man is not really acting like he traditionally has been as far as his gender role, and he wants a woman to take care of him, he becomes effeminate because she's having to go to work and make money. So
but
now
that's not
she's
what we talking about though.
But that's exactly what I was saying.
It's kind of like has segued into that from like the subject of the podcast. It kind of has segued into that in that, there are men. We're kind of taking a kind of a detour as far as explaining the effeminate man, because I kind of agree with what Jamel is saying as far as there are men who are effeminate. They will throw a fit if, the woman doesn't go to work, make money, come home, and then cook and clean. They'll throw a fit. And it's just one of those things where it's somewhat you're able to be in your masculinity and be masculine, knowing that you're going home, but you're going to work and you're able to bring home the bacon. Now, if someone's in a 50-50 relationship, that's on them. But I personally do believe that a man in his masculine role should be able to provide for his woman so that if she can't work, the family is protected because a part of his gender role as being a provider and a protector. And just to go kind of take just one last thing and I'll go on mute. There was a trope of women using men. It's just that it's not really popularized as far as in the past. You had Suge Avery and The Color Purple. There's always been a Suge Avery. And the Suge Avery might be one woman per town, but she's playing a whole bunch of different men. So I might get played by Suge Avery, but because social media is really prevalent now, back in the 1930s, Jamel might get hooked with Suge Avery. And then now here comes Albert getting hit by Suge Avery. And she's able to do all this little stuff because we're not able to communicate like we were right now, as far as in the past. And I'm not, we're not trying to gang up on you, Nakia. It's just that
I don't feel ganged up on at all. What I'm saying is that's not what the hell we were just talking about. So what I'm trying to understand is what we are segueing into right now is a completely, totally different topic from what we were actually talking about. Also, what I'm also going to say is, in the simple fact, in all simplicity of it, we know that there are effeminate men. We know that there are men that will sit at home playing video games while the woman goes out and works. But how does this evolve into saying, from the original statement, from the industry in which you were in, right? You said that this behavior of women using men to do X, Y, and Z, and then somehow it segued into this whole effeminate men and men being
the only
labeled silly women.
The only way, one of the main reasons why women have become users of men is because men have been abusers of women. That's definitely one of the main reasons. Another reason would be the reason why women do what they do is because they've taken on the feminist movement without understanding that the feminist movement was never about, and we're talking about black women. The feminist movement was never about a black woman. It was about white women.
That is very true.
And we took on the feminist movement. The black women took on that feminist movement, and they kind of mutated it into something a little different, because white problems and black problems in the women culture was different.
Yes.
It was different. So they just adapted it to what was going on with them. Now you have to also remember the government comes in and tells the woman, you can't have an apartment if you have a man in your house.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? Boom. You
If
kick
she
the man
runs
out.
Section 8, yes.
Right. So now the man is out. The man feels betrayed by the woman because of the government, because the government is actually playing these psychological warfare. The government definitely plays the psychological warfare, and everybody's a part of that. So here we've pitted the woman against the man, and now the woman will do what is necessary in order to pay her bills, do what she got to do, because now she has to be her own provider for her and however many children she has. So guess what? It's time to go out there, and somebody's going to get got by this game I'm going to run.
And it goes full circle in dating a single parent, because that single parent might have that mentality that I got this kid or this children, you know what? I'm going to take care of my children any means necessary. Let me go ahead and use as many men as possible to make sure that me and mine is taken care of. And I'm not going to care about what this man wants or doesn't want. And now she's going to dinner with you and she's not interested. She's going because she's hungry, and she may ask the man, hey, can we get a to-go plate for my kids? And then let's say if he wants something in return, next thing you know, she's like, I don't want to go on a date with you anymore. Don't call me anymore. Blocked. And now rinse and repeat, going through different men. And she's constantly using, getting resources. And it's not a reciprocal relationship. That's the reason why we took this detour, because it kind of goes full circle in dealing with the dangers of single parents. Straight facts.
Goodbye. You and your damn facts. Goodbye. You know, let me say this. Okay? Him and his damn facts. Goodbye. Let me say this. Okay. Number one, I'm very funny when it comes to certain stuff. So I don't ascribe certain behaviors based on whether you acting feminine, this, and the third. Now, have I been known to call a dude to be? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, I recognize the good errors of my ways, or whatever the case may be. But what I will say, you know what I'm saying? I can get with that But what I can't get with is the correlation between saying this is how women act. So now when you have a man that does it, now he acting like a woman. All of that behavior started from somewhere within the Black community. And I'm only talking about our community because I love Black history. Within our community was very family oriented. Period. That was how that was how we were. That was how we came up. Even when we came over here on them slave ships, we tried to maintain that unit. So the degradation of our unit did not happen because of us. It happened due to systemic racism that continues on to this day. It happened due to slave codes. It happened due to the Black codes. It happened due to Jim Crow. It happened due to, the Black man getting arrested for some of the simplest of crimes, even yet and still to this day, which then leaves the woman at home to fend for herself, right? And all of this stuff has been going on for years, right? Now, that does not excuse the lazy MFer that really and truly is just lazy, really and truly just doesn't want to work, really and truly never really grasped the concept of being the so-called provider, being the lead, being the head, to where he will just sit at home and play a damn video game. And while the woman goes and work, hell, I live with one. I had 2-3 jobs, okay? While the nigga act like he wanted to be a pastor, okay? So I'm just saying, I did it. You understand? I did it because in my mind, okay, you can sacrifice. This is all for the greater good because, there's a vision, right? As a woman, we are birthers. We birth vision. This is what we do, point blank, period, as a woman. So I cannot sit here and say that all women, majority of women sit around here and play men and do this and the third and go out on dates with men because they just want a meal. F you. Let me just say this: F you and your meal. And you want to know why? And I'm gonna say that boldly for the simple fact that I had a dude tell me that. He said, "I'm trying to take you out for your birthday. I'm trying to take you out for your birthday. I'm trying to give you a meal." I said, "I don't need no goddamn meal. I could buy my own meal." You understand what I'm saying? What you're not going to do is waste my time with your lack of planning for a birthday that was January 1st, and you still ain't planned or made a reservation for this restaurant yet. I don't play those games with nobody. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I'm not going to ascribe that behavior to a woman. What I will ascribe certain behaviors to are immature women. That's me. Because a woman ain't acting all like that. Period. A woman that sits up here and wants to ascribe to this over-sexualized culture, believe you me, I just had the whole damn conversation on my wall between yesterday and today with should a woman feel obligated to have sex with a man if he offers to take her on a trip or on a vacation. You know how many women said that maybe she's not obligated, but she should not go on a trip with a man if she does not plan on having sex? What the hell type of crap is that? I'm not ransoming off my body part because you volunteered to take me on a trip. Now I gotta pay with the puss because you want to go on a trip and you invited me there. But the
question didn't say volunteer though. The question didn't say if he volunteers to take her on a trip.
If he offered it, he volunteered it. We're not gonna get with semantics with these damn words. If he offered it, he volunteered it.
What you got on your page? I'm just going off what you got on your page.
If he offered the trip, he volunteered it. If you offer a trip, you volunteered it. I ain't asked for it.
Nah, it says all thing that really is highlighted is obligated. Like, is a woman obligated? That's the operative word. Is it really her obligation to have sex with a man if he takes her on a trip vacation? So I
said take, but what does the picture say?
Is a woman obligated to give a man sex if he take her on a trip vacation?
So if you offer to take me on a trip, if he takes her, that's an offer. That's him offering to take her somewhere. That's just like saying, if a man offers to take me to dinner, do I got to have sex with him? Do I need to suck him off? Do I need to do something for this man because he offered a dinner? Because he offered a drink?
You don't think that it I think what happens is it kind of works like this. The man understands that dealing with women of this generation, what women of this generation have been proclaiming is that if you ain't willing to spend money on me, you'll never get this. So
I don't
now,
know this generation. I'm not from it.
but that's exactly what I said to you earlier. I say you are not from this generation. I say, and you're a more mature woman. And of course, we're dealing with women in this generation and the previous one who have not matured. They have not matured.
Well, then y'all need to stop dealing with the immature women. Choose wisely.
But I hate to tell you, your kind is a dying breed.
I'm still alive.
No, you're right. But you can't have that again. So your kind is a dying breed. And it, again, yes, it is systemic. The system is still doing it. It's doing it through our music. It's doing it through our reality TV. It's literally programming, especially minority women, quote unquote, is programming them in a certain way to treat men in a certain way so that they can get what they want. And then men will do the same. Men will continue to do, if a man wants some bosom strong enough, he gonna try to pay whatever he can for that piece that he desires. Now, if the woman says, hey, the only way you ever get this, I'm an investment. What have you given me? What have you done for me? Especially we talk about women who are talking about hypergamy. Most of these women didn't even know what the hell hypergamy meant until Kevin Samuels.
Right.
And now they want to use this word so loosely. And I'm like, a hypergamous woman is almost one step away from prostitution.
Gold digging. And in the story,
and it did. If you have that going on, like it kills me. Like, oh, what makes you think that you gonna get some pussy if you go on the trip with me?
Yeah, what makes you think that?
You?
Well, in the story,
what made me think that is you said, not you, and I'm just saying, as in the argument, you said that no man could ever get close enough to you if they ain't willing to spend nothing on you.
You gotta have some cash if you want that ass.
Exactly.
But that's a song. If everyone does not ascribe, see, and this is where I really feel
women do, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. Look at how society is. I want you to see it. I want you to see it. At first, it was the chat line. And then after the chat line came social media. Social media evolved into having different types of social media. Then we had the Snapchat premiums. Then now we have the OnlyFans. Do you know how many chicks are on this OnlyFans kick?
You know how many people are paying to see them on there?
Exactly.
But here's my thing.
If you're my argument.
But no, I'm really not though. If you are, here's the thing. I just feel that everybody needs to understand the caliber of the person that they're entertaining. Period. If you understand the caliber of the person that you are entertaining, and if this person ascribes to that way of being, where they believe in all that stuff, like, okay, you want this, then you're gonna need to pay for it. If you want this, you're gonna need to do X, Y, and Z, this, that, and the third. That's who you choose to be with. But there are those of us who are not like that.
And you know what you know how they act? This is how they act. How much money do you make a year? Oh, you're not good enough for me. What do you do? What kind of job do you have? Oh no, that's you know, I look for somebody that's a little further up in the white collar chain.
And you know what? And you let them look for someone that's further up in that chain, and let them hoes be single, okay, as they search in that chain. And then
it goes so much deeper than that. There are different types of women out here that do the same thing to men. It's
I
not
agree.
even about really money. It's more so about control.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so about control. No, I don't know. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. You don't drive this certain car. You don't work this certain job. Yo, I don't know how many times. You know how much money you got sanitation workers out here that make 6 figures
Mm-hmm.
who find it hard to date a woman because you're like, you a garbage man. What?
Let her be stuck with not wanting a garbage man.
But what happens is it's so widespread amongst women, and it's widespread because it's a systemic programming. It's it's been happening, and it's been going unchecked for so long that if women don't check themselves,
But us
men
women
can't
go
check
through this.
you.
But we go through the
Men,
same thing with men.
but wait. I'm just speaking in from the side of a man.
Oh, I
We
know.
can't check you because then you're gonna be like, you don't make enough, or you ain't my father, or you're controlling. We go through that. So if a black woman tells a black woman, you're doing this and this isn't right, they'll go at this black woman saying, you're divisive. You're over here trying to divide the black home. That's what happened with Miss Ali. She tried to explain to them, and she was telling them, I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to get you guys to see I'm bringing the problem to the forefront so we can address it and deal with it. They tried to tear her new butthole. And this is 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're talking about women today, like, it's almost impossible to tell a black woman she's wrong. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. There are a few black women though that really are like, yo, no, you know what? You are right. I was wrong. You know what? Let me try. How do you think we can make this work?
Have you dated all black women?
I'm just look, yo.
I'm
If
just
you want,
asking.
I haven't dated all black women, but
What I'm saying is based on your experience, right?
No. This is based on statistics. This is based on statistics. See, and this is what people get mad with Kevin Samuels, but everything that nigga say is statistics. Everything. And I'm like, I don't agree with the way how harsh he can be, but that nigga be telling straight up truth. And my thing is, if women and men, because men, we got a lot of work to do with us too. There's no question. But if women don't take the time to say, you know what, yeah, we do have an issue. We do have a problem. And and just brainstorm on how to work it out, it's going to be worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's all I'm saying. It's like, you can't fight against numbers. You can't fight against statistics. He gives you the exact place where he gets his statistics from. He says, go look at it. Go look it up. And I'm just like, yo, at some point, I don't care if you have an issue as a black woman. I'm talking all crazy tonight. But what I care about is, are you willing to work on your issue? Because I'm a black man who's willing to work on his issues. I work on my issue daily so that I can be the best black man, so I can present myself as the best black man to this world as possible. But the stuff that I see out here, the things that I hear, the way things are, that it'd be crazy, yo. It'd be crazy. And if I was just to show you some of this stuff, you'd be like, nah, that's not really happening. That's not really happening. Because for you, that is not your world. You don't operate like that. And women like you don't operate like that. But you cannot be caught up in your bubble and think that others don't.
See, that's the whole thing. I'm not caught up in it because I speak to a lot of different women, and they know everybody don't agree with me and my viewpoint. You know, because some people, they choose to live how they choose to live, And, there are men that choose to accept it and there are men that choose not to accept it. But my point is, and this is why I always said that there's a balance to every conversation, because it's not just one-sided. You know what I'm saying? There are women such as myself. I am yet and still single, still to this day, right? And I've dealt with the men, as you say, they act like silly women, right? I've dealt with it. Right. And then what happens is, and a lot of times what people fail to understand is that when a woman has dealt with a man that has not acted like a man, so therefore now she then builds up a list of criteria that now says, well, you know what? I'm not, because this is what I'm not going to deal with. So now I got this list. So what you begin to hear is, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that. And what you're not hearing is, well, I've already dealt with someone that didn't have in the past, so I don't want to deal with that again. So now I have a list that I have created to where, because I can't go back there. And I think that's what a lot of people are failing to understand, especially when it comes down to women, because of the fact that when you have dealt with someone that has literally just, like, as Donnie said, picked up the girl code book, right? It fosters that. I myself deal with it, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I can't go back to where I was. Why do I need to work 3 jobs to take care of a home as the woman? I worked my regular job. Then I had to go to a part-time job. Then on top of that, a woman, me being a woman, working a regular job and a part-time job, and then also driving Lyft. Are you crazy? As a woman, doing all of that, stressed out, can't eat, can't sleep, can't do nothing. And I think that's the part that's lacking in understanding. There is a reason why that woman has taken that stance. And it's like, when a man hears it, all you hear is, oh, she needs help. Oh, she needs this. No, there's something has happened to that woman. You know what I'm saying? And no, has she always ascribed to this so-called feminist way of being? Because I am woman. A lot of the times we it's like I find that we throw that feminist term out there as like a weapon against a woman that basically has had to stand and be on her own for a long time. And we don't understand it. We don't bring the understanding that is needed to the conversation, because as men and women, right? That's why I always said, I told you that, CK. I said, I bring balance to conversations. Why? Because nothing can be one-sided. Everything needs to be brought about in balance. Right. So if I can sit and listen to you say, this is what's wrong with women, then you also can listen to what's wrong with men. Right? Because there is something wrong. You have men that have an issue, honestly, with not being faithful, with not being committed, with not, not upholding, their vow, not upholding the standard, not upholding. You have a lot of that going on. You have men that are abusive. The same way how you got some women that are downright abusive. They don't know how to speak. When they speak to you in all types of aggression, acting as if you're the child, acting as if you're less than. You know what I'm saying? All of that goes on in the whole entire dynamic. So what I'm saying is, I don't attack no side, truth be told. But I do believe that everybody got to own up to their shit. Everybody. Because the black man ain't always right and the black woman ain't always right. Everybody got some stuff. And the reason being, the truth of the matter is a lot that we fought against, being the Black Panthers, be it the civil rights movement, the entire movement, be it the Nation of Islam. One of the things that everybody literally had in common was they wanted to restore the Black family dynamic. And we, to this day, have not figured out how to do that within our community. The family dynamic, not meaning just blood relation, within our own communities, we have not figured out how to do that. We have not figured out how to do that yet. And part of that reason is because, truth of the matter is, there's a lot of things that go on that the government does not want us to do that, right? Because if we build up and we rise up, which is part of the reason why I'm always telling people, everybody needs to really come together. If y'all really want to see change, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. But we don't do we don't do none of that stuff. We just want to talk about it, and we talk about it until we blue in the face, and nothing ever happened. I don't have time for that. But that's why I said I always want to bring balance. And I don't know who Brother Speak is, but if you, yeah, that's what it say, Brother Speak. So
He's cool.
If you wanted to unmute yourself and definitely join into the commentary, that's great.
Yeah. How everybody doing?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, he's cool. He's cool.
Yeah, I think that especially now at 2021, nobody cares about what you've gone through. I think for the last 30 years, we were caring more about what women go through than men. But now, thanks to social media, and I think one of the tragedies of social media was that a lot of guys who didn't have to do anything, who could lay up on the couch and play Nintendos, Sega, PlayStation, was talking to the guys that had to do everything and still can't get the woman that they want, or any woman for that matter. When they started talking and they found out that, and even you had women who would come out here and tell you that who they're going to take advantage of and who they're not. Yeah, now nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck what women have gone through, because, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, you went through this, big deal. I've been going through shit too, and nobody gives a damn about me, so I don't give a damn about you. So that's where we gotten to. So this whole community unity thing it's not going to happen. It's going to have to take something catastrophic to make that happen, because everybody is like, I don't care about your problems. I don't care that your daddy molested you or your mommy didn't do X, Y, Z. I don't care if your ex-man did this or did that to you. You're not going to take advantage of me. And we don't have that understanding. Same with the women. They don't care that the dude, their baby mom probably bringing them through the court system. This woman took him for all his money in a divorce. She broke his heart. He got picked on by a girl in middle school. Nobody cares. So unless you have something catastrophic happens where we have to come together, it's not going to happen. We're just going to spread further apart. And, you know, like I said, the only people who are going to suffer the most is the good people, the ones that the guys who are not trying to be an asshole. They're going to get taken advantage of. The women that not trying to be the hoes and sluts and all, and these abusers, they're going to get taken advantage of, because everybody else is either seeking to get over on someone in some way or fashion. But the person that they like, they desire, they'll treat them like gold.
Well, Jamel,
I understand where he's coming from, and yeah, society is driven by fear today. It's a fear-based society. It's a society that is also very selfish. Fear and selfishness, when paired together, well, fear produces selfishness, and when they're the prevalent thing in society, it makes it very hard to overcome. I'm out here in these streets every day, just trying to find ways to help people get to the next level, to get over, to come together, you know. And with us doing that, with us giving that message to the community, yet and still we got robbed. They broke into our establishment, robbed the building. And all we did was try to promote unity, promote hope, promote that, yo, we're here for you, give out food, free food to the community. Just try to do whatever we could. But there's always someone who is stuck in a fear-based cycle that refuses to get along with the program. and they jam up the program. And as long as we are still plugged up to our comforts and our conveniences, we will always face these issues and problems. Until we are in a place where we want to be better more than we want to be comfortable, where we want to be better more than we want to be convenienced, we'll forever be caught up in this cycle, in this loop. And what does the system keep feeding us? Comforts and conveniences. The comforts and the conveniences are the things that lull us to sleep. And unfortunately, this whole world is under that spell of comfort and convenience. They're under that spell. As long as I don't have to do too much, as long as I don't have to go out of my way, I'm good. Because now we're afraid of being taken advantage of doing too much. We're afraid of not being comfortable because we've been uncomfortable before. We didn't like it. We didn't like how it felt. But at some point, we have to understand that growth and comfort cannot occupy the same place. It can't. In order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. But when you do find yourself in a space of comfort, you are to enjoy it, but you're not to live there because there's more growth to happen. And it's like we for some reason we're stuck because we're still plugged in. We're plugged into TV that feeds us fear every day. We're plugged into radio and internet that feeds us fear-based everything all the time. Black people start investing. You know what they saying now? Oh, you gotta be afraid that you don't get caught up in the bubble because it's gonna burst. And when the bubble bursts, you won't lose all your money. It's like at some point we have to be willing to be uncomfortable. We have to be willing to say, you know what? It's time to put on my big boy pants, time to put on my big girl pants and go to work and make it happen. Do the work. Do the necessary work on yourself. Help each other to do that work collectively in your family and let it branch out to your communities. If we don't do that, we will never break the cycle. We're waiting for God to do something that God has put in us to do.
I think part of the issue as a whole is just the simple fact that when you take on the role of being selfish, so you only fully think of self, you never think of community and you never think of unity, and then you never think of togetherness. So if everything stems from a place of self, then you'll always be stuck within that place of self. And you'll never go beyond that place of self. And I think that's part of the issue. The issue is people not removing and moving and elevating their mind from a place of self and getting into a place of community and moving in a place of unity and then operating from a place of togetherness. You know, at the end of the day, when you work within like a corporate structure, one of the biggest things that they're producing right now is a team environment, right? You're producing team and you're removing basically titles, you're removing positions, not necessarily, but you're creating a flat organization. And a lot of the times what we fail to realize is that a lot of what we're looking for is a lot of different leaders when everyone can be their own individual leader and move within a realm and move within a direction that is going to better everyone. And the truth of the matter is that, and I was raised differently, so it is what it is. And I am learning now more than ever at the age of 40 to respect Martin and Lori and what they did and did not allow, right? And one of the things that they did not allow was they did not allow TV to raise us. You know what I'm saying? Even once you entered into this whole world of social media, you know, when you're raised upon a foundation where you're not easily influenced by the times, you're not easily influenced by people You know, when you're raised to be a leader and you set your own trends and you set your own goals, you don't fall into a lot of this extra stuff, you know. And in today's culture and in today's time, we have fallen into a lot of things, because I mean, the truth of the matter is, half these people trying to emulate something that's just not real. You know what I'm saying? What the hell do I look like looking up to a Cardi B type situation? What do I look like when the truth of the matter is, I mean, look at the history. The history speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, we all have to take accountability for our own stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here. I can't blame all men for what a few men did, and a man can't blame all women for what a few women did. At the end of the day, we have to be accountable at some point within our own selves, within our own realm, and within our own shit. You know what I'm saying? Where we like, you know what? I chose that was wrong, and I got to move on from it, you know? And then we learn how to branch off and move on. I'm not going to say that the world, people just in general don't care about other people's experiences. I believe that what happens is we become hardened to experiences because we've experienced so much as a people. You know what I'm saying? So now we've hardened ourselves to other people's experiences. We've hardened ourselves to other people's thoughts. We've hardened ourselves because everybody is wrapped up in their own stuff. Selfishness. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you know, I mean, going the original topic for tonight, it was dating in 2021. And the subtopic of that was to branch about, you know what I'm saying, you know, dating people with children, men or women alike with children, and the complexities and the possible risks, and, you know, that goes along with that. Truth of the matter, all of this goes along with that. All of this goes along with dating, period. Because these are all the things that you have to be prepared for. You know what I'm saying? And these are all the things that you have to be mentally capable of handling. Can I handle your shit, and can you handle mine? You know what I'm saying? Because everything that glitters ain't gold. I ain't perfect. Nobody, I don't care. Ain't nobody listening to this podcast perfect. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't dotting every I and crossing every T. You ain't, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you're just my dream. No, ain't nobody like that. Whether you got a kid or not, nobody is. Because everybody has their own everybody has something that they have dealt with or are dealing with that has caused them to be who they are, period. Regardless of all this extra crap that we got going on, everybody has done that. Everybody. So now it's like, how do we move forward? Because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is, we got mad. There are a lot of single women out here. There are a lot of single men out here that are really and true. Some, not everybody, but you know, a lot that are truly looking for something more, something meaningful, and they're not able to find it. Why? Because they got to weed through the nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of this nonsense is because men and women alike are just, some of y'all need counseling to deal with all your traumatic experiences in life. You need to unpack a lot of that stuff. Whatever is preventing you from saying I love you, whatever is preventing you from actual commitment, whatever is preventing you from exclusivity. And then, you know, then you got the married ones that want to act like they single. You know what I'm saying? You got all of this stuff going on. All of this stuff going on at the same time. And you got real people that want real relationships in real time, period. And that's what we got to get to. We got to get to the ability to be able to weed through all that stuff. Like I said on my good post today, listen here, I turned down a man offering, volunteering to take me on a trip. Why? Because he made it very clear that if you go on a trip with me, you having sex with me. And I told him point blank, period, no, I am not. And he blocked me, and I was happy about that. I felt great. That block I felt was great. That was a good block. I'm happy you blocked me, because I want you to understand I am a woman that values herself far above the fact that you think you want to enter into me and I don't even know you like that. Number one, I wasn't going on a trip with him nowhere because I didn't know him. That's number one. Like I don't go out of town with people I really don't know. If we ain't meet on the state side, we ain't meeting on somebody else's land side either. We're not doing none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need a man to take me on a trip for me to go on a trip. That's number that let that speak for itself. Okay. But this is the stuff that goes on. And we have a society that is literally over sexualized. Everything is about sex. Everything is about, the show. Everything is about, what I'm saying, who can drop it, who can twerk, and I have fun, but that's not my life. There's a difference. I have fun, but it's not my life. And there are people that are literally making this their life. This is your life. That to me is I have a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Like that shouldn't be your life. And the issue is that if a man has to weed through all of that to get to one, they already done gave up. They're like, you know what? She just ain't here. I just ain't gonna find her. This and the third. And guess what? Us women are the same way. Because when I gotta weed through that type that just wants to, oh, you fine, oh, you pretty, oh, sorry, I'm not attracted to that. I'm attracted to the mind. I'm not attracted to none of that, none of what you're talking about. So as a woman that have to go through all of that, we experience the same thing. We really do. You know what I'm saying? Contrary to good popular belief, there are those of us that are tired of getting that type of man coming at us. I know I am. I don't want it. I don't want you. I don't want you coming at me. I don't want you talking to me. I don't even want you looking at me. If that's how you think, I don't want that, because I want more than that. I want something that is meaningful, something that has substance. I can care less about, can you twerk? If you don't get on my face.
In order for that to happen, we're so addicted to stimulation, and it's not always sexual. Some things are violence.
No violence.
Look at the video games. We're trained from children now in killing and war and rape, and this is a rape culture. America is a rape culture.
It is.
It's we're socialized that way, and until there is an unplugging from, we will always be slaves too. And it's very necessary. I remember reading what's the guy, Steve Jobs. I remember reading about Steve Jobs, and here's a man who basically has the whole world plugged up to Apple, to his computers, to his phones, but he wouldn't let his kids be plugged up to it. Because he understood that through those devices, my kids can be enslaved like everybody else. He wouldn't even let his own kids. No, you can't have no phone right now. No. And then when they were old enough to get a phone, you can't be on your phone all day. We have to take those lessons and we have to apply those type of lessons and understand everything in moderation is great. But when we begin to overindulge, we begin to overstimulate, whether it's with sex, whether it's with violence, whether it's with just crazy thinking. The way the TV and these shows program people, and I'm not just talking about kids. Yo, when you got NBA YoungBoy influencing 35 and 40-year-old grown men, I'm like, it should be the other way around. But it's whatever we put in front of people to stimulate certain aspects of their personality. And we have become addicted to the stimulation.
Well, listen here. Part of that, a lot of that comes from how you were formed from childhood. At the end of the day, if I'm 40 years old being influenced by a 20-year-old, I have to look at the said 40-year-old like you're crazy.
Not necessarily.
I'm saying me. This is me. This is how I view it, right? I'm not influenced. Like, there is nothing that I could see on any one of these so-called celebrities that I'm gonna say that, oh my God, that outside of like something that is like philanthropic. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that influences me, right? Like when you see people doing something like how Beyonce opened up a whole homeless shelter. It's a way for your mind, right? Because that's inspiring. My job, I'm not influenced by this rape culture. I'm not influenced by this overly sexualized culture. I'm not influenced by none of that. And that's just me. You know
And
what I'm
because
saying?
you're not, you're a threat. If you look at all the people who are not influenced, especially when once their platforms got to a certain level, look at Prince. He's by the society.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Michael Jackson. He wasn't influenced by the society. Look at these people who have reached that level. Look at T.I. Everybody thinks it's just out the blue that all this stuff with T.I.'s coming out now. Nah, T.I. been speaking up a little bit too much
Oh, it
about
ain't out the
community
blue.
and building and doing, and he's not plugged into society the way a lot of people are. So he's like, nah, we gotta build our people. Him and Killer Mike down there building towns, whole towns for black people. Nope, we gotta put something out to smear him. Look at how they killed homie from LA. Oh man,
Nipsey
Nipsey
Hussle?
Hussle.
yeah, they killed that man. That man had a STEM program in place that he had ran in his own town, and he was trying to take it national. They killed that man.
I mean, but that goes along with what Donnie just said here. He said, this is the best climate to bring back Black Wall Street, especially with social media and how we can easily connect with people worldwide. But most of our people are selfish and don't want to see someone next to you getting bigger than them when we all can truly grow together. A lot of what has taken us down is our own selves. The Nipsey Hussle situation that was inside. What took place, what is taking place with T.I. even right now, that's inside. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be real.
Yeah, and but that's what I'm saying. It's when you have the ability to program people this way, they know how to. It's been an inside job for us from when we was in Africa.
I mean, I was gonna say because it was all inside.
It's always been an inside job, and it's because the system, every day we're alive, we are from the cradle to the grave, we are in a psychological warfare. Every single day, every single moment. There's never a moment that you are not in psychological warfare.
I mean, we've been in psychological warfare.
But with psychological warfare comes programming. Some people don't take to the programming, but most do. Because everybody's not strong enough. Everybody can't be a Malcolm. Everybody can't be a Martin. Everybody can't be a Kia.
You know, folks
Because
need
there's
to start seeking
sacrifices
out
that come
knowledge.
along with that.
Yeah, it goes back to most people are followers. There's only going to be a few people who's going to be the leaders. And the following part is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on who they follow. And going back to this, there's a rape culture, there's also a hookup culture, and it's just there is no loyalty. Today would be the best time to do Black Wall Street. Today would be the best time because here's the thing: they can't. Even if we were to build it now, the U.S. can't just go over there and bomb it like they did back then because you have social media. If they were to do that now, that would look bad in front of all these different countries. The problem is that we don't have the mindset to do it. We're literally listening to songs that encourage people to cheat on their significant others. When you have stuff like that going on, and you got the women who want to be basically being hoes, dudes want to just be drugged out and just use women. That's not going to be a place where you're going to build a community. And even if it, like you said, there's guys who's trying to do that, but they don't get no support. Even if the stuff, like, let's say for T.I., if that stuff would have came out, there should have been a support group hovering around him to diffuse a lot of this stuff. Yep. Even if he did like to do the threesomes and all that stuff, there should have been a team around him to cover that shit up and make it so he's not doing anything illegal. But because a lot of us want to go at it solo, and we don't want to share the glory, we're left unprotected. And so it comes down to, if we're going to build something, we got to pick the right people. We got to support them and protect them from all types of stuff, even themselves. With that, I'm going to get off because I got to get to work. But thank y'all for having me on the panel. It was a pleasure talking to y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Brother Speak. Thank you. I just want to say, unfortunately, I'm going to step down myself as well. I apologize. This has been a great podcast, Nakia. I appreciate you for collaborating with me. I'm going to keep it going on my channel and, just end it whenever you end the podcast. It's been great, really great conversation. Anyone on my
look, we're about to end in 10 minutes.
Okay, because you know what? Okay, I can give 10 minutes. Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
We're about to end in 10 minutes. I don't know who Koja Malik is.
Yeah,
but
Koja Malik. She comes from my channel.
Hi,
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry I caught the end of this. I was kind of busy earlier, but I'm gonna enjoy listening. But we cannot be afraid to step out. Everybody not gonna receive it. If we ask 100 people, I say it's like dating and how men pick up women. If they try 100 and they get 2, you're successful. Like in the mall, when they spray that perfume and you walking by, they spray it to 100 people, but they know they're not gonna get 100 sales, and it's not meant to. It's meant to get those 2 sales, and we have to be cognizant of what we're prepared to sacrifice. I never give so much that I'm mad if the person take advantage of me. I'm never going to give my rent. I'm never going to give. There's so much I'm willing to give. And if this person don't receive it, I've done my part. But we can't get to the point where we're afraid to extend ourselves. And we may not have a lot to extend. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's knowledge, sometimes it's time. But we can't be afraid when we're to put ourselves out there. Everybody not going to get it. But if we get one person here, one person there, we've done it. And with the T.I. thing, somebody should have pulled him and say, you can't be on the internet talking about your daughter's vagina. That's just creepy. I'm sorry. Somebody should have told him that. And if he didn't know it, we have a lot of stuff that was not right back in the day. That bad habits, bad language, and bad things that somebody should have came and say, that's not cool. So yes, he may have been doing those things, but we need to know we can't get online and talk about that stuff. We can't get online talking about we do certain type of thing because you know what it's going to bring. And somebody should have told them that. And we do have to hold our leaders up to a standard. And it's kind of iffy because it's like, oh, I'm just going to use the church. Oh, he's to this, that. When you put on that robe, you got to kind of make sure you get your ducks in a row because you know they coming. You know they coming. And there's certain things, and I don't know how far they reach back in his past and grab that, but I do know the part about him talking about going to his daughter gynecology visits was just creepy. And somebody should have told him better.
Well, what's going on with him now is it's a lot deeper than the gynecological visit with his daughter. I think that people as a whole, when you reach a certain status and you are becoming a key leader amongst the community, there's some things that you possibly need to check before you start to promote. And I think that sometimes what we fail to realize is that, I mean, just like Malcolm X was taken down by, it was an inside job. You know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King was taken down. That was an inside job. I believe that what we have to understand is if you understand the history, then you already know that if you have some things that are a little creepy in your life, you might want to handle that before you come out publicly and claim anything publicly, especially if you are for the advancement of the Black people and the Black community. Look at Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon had to basically, allegedly, in order for him to get his show back, he had to allegedly agree that he basically will not really support any of our advancement, our movements, right? He cannot allegedly put out the Dr. Sebi documentary, right? His name can't be on it, right? So I think that sometimes what we as a people have to realize, when you're constantly looking for a seat at that table, what it's going to cost you to sit there. And sometimes what I feel what we're failing to realize is that we're so blinded by the check and the notoriety and the fame that it gives us that we're lacking, truthfully, in the actual love and the concern and the heart for the actual movement. It goes far beyond all of that stuff, and we don't understand it. We lack it. And you know, the situation, I mean, truth of the matter is, the situation that's going on with T.I., I find it to be rather unfortunate, because he is building, he is creating, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes when people start going through them closets and stuff start opening up, you know, them doors, you know, that you thinking that you got under control, and you really and truly don't. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes we are motivated by a check. So if you tell me that this could potentially be a big payout, listen, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. That's what some of these folk are gonna do.
To be honest, I didn't even pay. The first thing I really paid attention to T.I. said, other than the value of reality TV, because I love me some reality TV, but I keep it in check as entertainment. But the one thing I did, I was like, oh, look at T.I. getting woke, because I don't really follow Atlanta stuff talking about buy some land. I say by the time he said something good, and it's just kind of funny that after that.
As soon as he said buy the land, what happened? That man got attacked.
And I will hope that people still take the message. He said buy the land. And even if he get taken down, that message was put out there for us to start buying the land.
Yeah, we need to do that. We need to become more owners than anything. That is something that we definitely need to do, and we have to. Part of that is like Jamel was talking about earlier with investments, and a lot of us do not fully understand investments. A lot of us are, you know, afraid to enter into the market, and part of the fear of entering into the market is you're entering into something that is unknown, right? And you're not well versed in it. You don't fully understand it. And, you know, but truth of the matter is, in the world of social media and everything, there are so many different groups for us to become familiarized with it. But as I stated this before, and I'm going to state it again, I do not believe in, if you're going to enter into the market, I do not believe in doing it via a Robinhood app. If you're going to do it right. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have TD Ameritrades out here. That's why you have the Fidelities out here. You know, that's why you have actual investment firms out here. So if you're going to do it right. I'm not very well versed in this whole cryptocurrency type thing, but it's doing really well. It's doing very well.
YouTube University is amazing. You have to eat the milk and spit out the bones. And I can only say that around June or July, I started trying to clean my credit up. It was in the 450s. I didn't pay anybody. And it's not great now. It's 672, 682, give or take 20 points, because that's the Vantage score. But that's YouTube University. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. It can be a curse or a blessing. So,
and I think we have to take the time and do a lot of different research and figure this stuff out. I think that part of the issue is that we don't seek out the knowledge and we don't seek out the wisdom, and we have to now. And all of us, I mean, hell, damn near all of last year you were stuck in the house, so there's no reason for you not to have a little bit more knowledge than what you had before 2020, before the pandemic hit, right? Everybody had time. So it's time for us to really drill this down, because like Donnie said, this would be the climate to bring back the Black Wall Street. And we should. We have a lot of Black owned businesses. We have Black owned banks. We have a lot of Black owned structures, and we should. And the problem is that we can't unify in order to do it. And that to me is just it hinders us to the nth degree. Outside of this relationships and all this other extra stuff, you know, we do topics here because we want to talk about it. But at the end of the day, if we learn how to build community and we learn how to build unity and we learn how to operate together, I think even a lot of the issues that we have as far as relationally, all of that stuff will all come full circle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because we have to get back to, you know, at the end of the day, we have to get back to the origin of who we are as a people, period. You know what I'm saying? And we cannot continue to allow the past. We cannot continue to allow our fears. We cannot continue to allow our traumas. We cannot continue to allow our struggles. And we cannot continue to allow the influences of this world to destroy the unit. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody else allows it but us.
My son, I have like two that are 21 and 21, their birthday today. And I'm like, you got to go. And he's like, well, I'm like, you're going to go to Job Corps? And you're going to take up air conditioning, refrigeration? And he's like, well, I want to do Homeland Security. I'm like, you smoke weed. How you going to do Homeland Security? You're going to air conditioning, refrigeration, or you're getting out of my house, because you can't go to space. You can't go to sea. You can't go to land. You can't go to air without an air conditioner or refrigeration. You can't open one business, one school, one mall, one restaurant without it. That's where you're going. And I don't care what you want to do. You got a whole lifetime to do what you want to do. This just one career step. And you ain't picked it at 21. I'm picking it for you. Get it or get out. We have to situate ourselves in places where we're needed. We saw what, and I was telling him, during this pandemic, only a couple of people worked. Police, nurses, and the extremely poor, the Walmart, the gas stations, etc. And the people who were well-to-do jobs that they could work from home, but nobody else worked. Are you setting yourself to be the police, which I don't know how that's going to pan out for a Black man? Yay or nay, I don't really think it's a venue for somebody who likes to smoke weed. Or that you're going to have to set yourself up. I don't care what you like to do. Your career only supports your lifestyle. It's not your life. And pointing them in things, you know, I'm not going to advocate against college. College is great if you have that. But if not, like I said, you can't get a piece of food. You can't even transport food. You can't transport the damn vaccine without a refrigerator. So our kids going to have to stop going into what they want to do and understand sometimes this is what you need. Now, after you get this here under your belt, and you can go to 100 other different careers, but this here is the one thing you're going to have to get under your belt. My little one country time AC repairman on his own, who had been here 50 million years, make $300,000 a year. And he ain't got no student debt, and that's just working on his own. Who some people may say that's not that much. In my life, with my degree, that's a lot of money, $300,000 a year. So our kids have to stop thinking about, oh, it's job satisfaction, what I'm gonna enjoy doing. You enjoy eating and living. The rest of it, you can pay. Your job is not your life. It just allows you to have activities that bring you enjoyment. You don't have to enjoy it, you just have to do it. And that's what our kids, I think, are missing. They feel like they've gotten this message that, oh, you have to actually like what you do. It's great if you can like what you do, but working on these people's jobs, even if it's a career you enjoy, by the time you deal with the BS to have to be on these jobs, you're no longer going to like it. So like you say, everybody can't be a leader, but you can create an environment in what you lead creates an environment of people that want to follow.
That's all you got to do. Create the environment. Jamel over there at the good gas station. You ain't even supposed to be on your cell phone at the gas station, Jamel. It's called radio wavelengths that can cause a fire. I just want to put that out there. See what
You're
I'm
right.
saying?
You're right.
Black woman caring about black man. How about that? Anyway.
I appreciate it. It's a wonderful name.
But yeah, we're gonna end this right here. Cause I told look, CK, didn't I say an hour?
Yeah, hour. We 3 in.
I know I said an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. got stuff to do, and then now y'all done took 2 extra. It's all right though.
Is your link in the comments? Because I would like
Yeah.
to come over to your channel.
Yeah. I put her channel link in the comments. I'll drop it again. Everybody subscribe to Nakia. And here is her link right here. It is the Muzzle is Off podcast. Muzzle comes off. Really great content. Subscribe. Let's get her to 1,000 subs before the summer. Come on, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it before the summer, y'all. So the link's in the chat right there. So yeah.
Okay. I will definitely I got my YouTube running even when I ain't listening.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody that really stuck in this whole good 3 hours. You know, y'all troopers, thank you. Y'all was coming in and out, I could see. And I really want to thank you, Mr. Commendable Kay. Thank you, Jamel, because Lord knows, even though you came in late and had me all types of heated, it's okay though. It's all right. It's all right. This is what we do. We gonna argue, and it'll still be like, yeah, you know, like you do. You know, you piss me off that within your first 15 minutes.
I know.
At least you do. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm all right with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, wait a minute, are these men really gonna sit up here and try to talk about y'all, what y'all not gonna do? Okay, that was it. But I appreciate y'all. Listen, everybody, we doing the After Dark podcast on Friday. We bringing back our good men's panel, which is gonna be very interesting yet again. But Friday is After Dark style, so y'all already know when it's After Dark, all things go. There's nothing. It is After Dark is nothing off limit when it's After Dark. So it just, you know, have your drink, have your whatever, get in that good groove, and let's get it. So Friday night, 9 p.m. we're gonna be After Dark, and then next week Wednesday. It's either gonna be Wednesday or Friday, but next week we're actually gonna take a deeper dive into that whole entire conversation about is a woman obligated, or even a man, is he even obligated when it comes down to offering of gifts and also the extra stuff? So we're going to take a deeper dive into that. I'm building out that panel now for that conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting because everybody don't agree, which is perfectly fine. We don't have to agree. We just have to understand. That's all. So next week, we'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Because I'm believing I'm going to do that on a Wednesday. Because if I do it in the after dark time, it might get a little too loose, and I ain't got that type of time for nobody. So yeah, we'll probably do it next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we'll have that conversation as well. So like I said, thank everybody for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? Fine, Commendable Kay. Did you? Yeah. On YouTube. I don't have the link to your YouTube, but
yeah, it's just Commendable Kay on YouTube, or Parkland Media, spelled like how it is. It's the CK at Parkland Media, and I'll drop the link to my channel in the messenger.
Yeah, drop that so I can put it in the comments here.
Yeah, at boom. Boom, there it is. And I also see the live stream on YouTube right now. I could just drop it. Yep,
you put it in the chat. You put it in the private chat. I don't see it.
Yeah, I did both.
All right,
yep, we're good. All right.
So y'all follow and subscribe Commendable Kay. His content is hilarious. I'm just putting that out there now. They did a whole show saying F you to people. Okay. A whole show. and F you and F you too and F you and I was like, oh, okay, this is how we feeling today. We just gonna do the whole show. We're gonna tell people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you gotta get it off your chest, okay? And so listen, he did a whole. It was a whole. I think that one was like 2-3 hours or something. I don't even remember, but I know it was F you and F this and F that and so called, and I don't even care how you feel. And
yeah, that was one of those days. Yeah. That was one of those days.
Low esteem, yes, sir.
Yeah,
that was definitely get it off your chest, okay? Like however you feeling, I need you to get it out. So he definitely did that, and it was cool, and it was funny. So definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel because we definitely need to support each other in this venture and in what we do because support is everything. Y'all need to start sharing the podcast, sharing the lives, share. You know what I'm saying? Because that is important. Everything with social media and these algorithms, it goes based on the comments, it goes based on your likes, it goes based on your shares, it goes based on even our own interaction, how we interact in the comment section, also that stuff. So all of that stuff is extremely important. So if you're going to follow a podcast, if you're going to follow, a person, especially off of their actual, let's say, like page, fan page, whatever you want to call that, one of the best things you can do is share off of that because it'll help the algorithm to promote that page. Because if they don't see if the algorithm does not pick up the traction in that page will never get noticed. That's how that is how this stuff works. So if you want, it's not even if you're watching, share it. Share from the Muzzle is Off podcast page. You don't need to share from my personal page. You don't need to share from my other like page, the Nakia Monet page. You should, everything that you do, it should come from the Muzzle is Off podcast page because that's how it gets noticed. That's how it gets picked up, and that's how Facebook will then recommend the page to other people that are outside. So that's my tidbit for y'all with how y'all need to act. Okay. This is not, I'm just saying, because this ain't a platform where I'm asking. I don't put up Cash App. I don't ask people for money. I don't ask people for donations. I don't do none of that. You get a lot of these programs where they put their Cash App, they put their Zelle, they put their PayPal, they put all that stuff up there. You know what I'm saying? I don't ask people for that. If my whole thing is if a person wants to give, they're just going to give, point blank, period. And they'll find means to ask you on how they can do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to advertise it, but one of the best things you can give is a like, share, and a comment from the Muzzle is Off podcast page, because that's the only way how it's going to get picked up in these algorithms and go out to more people other than you who watch. If you share it on your pages from the Muzzle is Off podcast, it'll begin to automatically tell people, oh, you should watch this, or you should do this. And the same thing, I don't know, Kay, I don't know what you're going to do as far as yours is concerned, if you're going to create, you know what I'm saying, the Facebook and all that stuff, but you should work within Facebook and YouTube at the same time because it just helps. It just helps. That's all. So that's my tidbit of information for tonight. I'm getting off of here because I'm not fooling with y'all no more. All right, everybody, have a good night. And like I said, Friday, we back here at 9 p.m. for the After Dark show. And then next week, Wednesday, we'll be back at 7 p.m. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, man.